I fully believe in my heart of hearts Brian Kohberger is the Doordash driver, and we're going to talk all about it. To say for itself about the Doordash driver. This is what it says. Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m. and asleep, or at least in their rooms, by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Kernadel, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Did you hear what I just said, ladies and gentlemen? I simply read what was in the arrest affidavit. But did you read between the lines and catch what it actually said? I'm going to read the important part one more time. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Some of you crime junkies out there in the true crime universe may or may not be familiar with Richard Allen from Delphi, Indiana. He's accused of making 2 young women pass away in a horrible way. He was arrested 5 years after the crime, and it turns out he self-snitched on himself immediately after the crime. He came in contact with an officer immediately after the crime and said that he was on the bridge that day, and it turns out he was wearing the exact same clothes as the bridge guy. Nobody was looking for Richard Allen, but he went to the police himself and self-reported that he was on the bridge that fateful day that those 2 girls passed away.
This is a Home Team Productions. First, go subscribe to Crime Circus. Promise you won't regret it. Next, thank you, Drip Drop, because regardless on if I agree or not, real recognizes real. Well done.
Section who is not believed to be involved. When we click it, I'm going to run down this list very quickly about who's not believed to be involved. The 2 surviving roommates, that would be Dylan and Bethany. The male in the Grove Truck surveillance video. That's been rumored since day one that was Jack Showalter. However, there's a lot of males in the Grove Truck video. Private party driver who took Kaylee and Madison home on November 13th. That was rumored since day one that was an Uber driver, but then it changed to a...
All right, so number 1, they don't mention the DoorDash at any time during the investigation, meaning November 13th to the time that Brian Kohberger is arrested. The only time we hear about the DoorDash or anything like that happening that evening or early morning hours is when the PCA is released. So therefore, they are not going to publicly clear anybody that nobody knows about. Number 2, Brian's phone was not on during the possible order time, but for sure not on during the drop-off time. Meaning, Brian needs his phone on to utilize the driver app side of things. So first, he needs that on to be able to accept a delivery, which is all random. When you accept and get called upon to deliver somewhere, you don't know where you're going until you accept the delivery. Number 3, Brian's phone, according to law enforcement, was in either airplane mode or it was completely turned off between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. on November 13th, 2022, thus making it impossible for Brian to use this phone in connection with the quote-unquote driver app to pick up the order and to drop off the order, as it is GPS tracking the entire time and your movements are completely tracked. Where you're at this time, that time. This device could not have been the one used for the DoorDash.
When suspect vehicle 1 is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle then continued to the intersection of Queen Road and King Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn and then driving eastbound again down Queen Road. Suspect vehicle 1 is next seen departing the area of the King Road residence at approximately 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of...
I believe that mess was the DoorDash driver, because approximately could be after 4 a.m. just as much as before 4 a.m. But I believe all of that talk in the PCA about a car making a 3-point turn, turning around, trying to park, that's your DoorDash driver. Xana received a DoorDash. Receiving a DoorDash at 4 a.m. or approximately 4 a.m. would need a paper trail on that. And that would require the app to be fully functioning, which would not have been possible through Brian Kohberger's phone, as his phone was off, and that would have needed Wi-Fi to do that. So even being in airplane mode would not allow Brian Kohberger to complete the entire transaction through DoorDash on the driver app side. Brian Kohberger would have had to come out of airplane mode to complete the transaction if he was in fact the DoorDash driver working for DoorDash with that device. And that device never comes back on, or those towers, that device is off, or at least in airplane mode, as the law enforcement says, until 4:48 a.m.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's all right there in the arrest affidavit, and we've all overlooked it for so many months. I know some of you out there with a high IQ knew this from the very first day. It was the DoorDasher. They believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. But Brian wasn't caught on camera until 4:04 a.m. Do you see what they're saying inside of this document, ladies and gentlemen? It's all right there and we missed it. But we're not missing it anymore because I'm presenting it right here. This is important information.
The PCA is designed to get the person arrested that law enforcement believes committed the crime. So why not put in the PCA that Brian told us he was the DoorDash driver? Or why not talk about the type of car the DoorDash driver was driving to show the big difference in cars, and that the DoorDash driver identified his arrival and departure from cameras? Why would none of that be talked about in the PCA if it bulks up the arrest probable cause of Brian Kohberger? They have to tread very lightly over that portion about the DoorDash driver. And in my opinion, it's not because it's Brian Kohberger. It's because there's another person there at the same time of the crime. I, for one, appreciated this video done by Crime Circus, and it did make me think today. And his video actually proves that Brian Kohberger did not use his phone that evening if he in fact was the DoorDash driver, that phone was not used. Do I believe Brian Kohberger is a DoorDash guy? No. Could he be? Possibly, but it would not be with that phone number that he was DoorDashing with. Until next time, to the transparency. Thank you, Crime Circus Drip Drop. Appreciate your video. We'll see you soon. Oh, P.S. Richard Allen's PCA mentions how Richard Allen put himself at the area of the crime scene during the time of the crime. Brian's PCA would have done the same thing if Brian did what Richard Allen did. If Brian would have said that he put himself at or near the crime scene around the time of the crime, that would undoubtedly be in the PCA. And it's just simply not. And it's not to hide that. It's because, in my opinion, Brian Kohberger never told anyone, in fact, especially not law enforcement, that he was anywhere near the crime scene at or around the time of the crime. P.S. What is up, Truth and Transparency? Got a special one for you. All right, again, guys, welcome. Welcome, Wilma. The whiteboard is in full effect to help everybody out this evening. Wilma, get over here. Okay. So, again, first of all, I want to say thank you to the mods for modding this evening. Thank you for the members for being here. Thank you for the subscribers. When it's all said and done, take your touch DNA and hit the thumbs up or thumbs down. You have an opinion, use it, make it known. At the conclusion of the video, do me a favor, make yourself known. Special shout out, Crime Circus is in chat. Hello, hello, hello. The link will be for Crime Circus, depending on if he can step away from whatever it is that he is doing. But tonight, bringing out the whiteboard, his video, again, very well put together, very thought provoking. My Sunday did not go as planned because of that video. So I blame you, Drip Drop, for my Sunday going completely left. But real quick, I just want to break down something and then want to discuss it with Drip Drop. But we're going to go ahead and take a look here. The first thing I want to point out is I'm going to zoom in on the search warrant. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the search warrant. Those of you guys that have seen the 700 and whatever odd pages, there's your search warrant, okay? For whatever reason, it's blurry. Not sure why, but we'll blame Wilma. Point being is that on 12/6/2022, so December 6th, Judge Megan signed off to have a search warrant be served. And the information, can I have that first? The information that was wanted was from January 1st, 2022 to present day, all dates and times of sales, all dates and times of deliveries, purchases and or transactions, name and identification of the driver, a full description of the vehicles used, and any and all communications between the driver and the purchaser. So that came out on 12/6/2022 that they issued the search warrant that Judge Megan signed off on. So the first thing is that when they say, oh, the DoorDasher came forward, or the questionable, language, want to point that out that they did do a search warrant upon DoorDash on 12/6/2022, and that it was information pertaining to basically the whole year. And they most definitely put in, they wanted descriptions of the vehicles that each person that ever delivered their drove. Okay. So there's that. We don't know when it came back, when that search warrant was actually given over with the information to the detectives, because that part was redacted out of what we got. So keep that in your back pocket as to why would they hold back and take that page out as to when the information was given back over to detectives. Now we're going to go over here to the DoorDash. Brian's phone, according to the PCA, was on and then it shut off. And I'm going to show you how many steps you could get through if you are on the side of a DoorDasher. So like when we order DoorDash, we have a certain app that we use. When you are the Dasher, you have a different app that you use, okay? So number one, your Dasher account, okay? You have to be on the app, okay, which would make it that it is accessible, so it has to be on, number one. So Brian, if he was a DoorDasher, he would have to have his account on. Number two, you have to be the lucky random person that when that order comes through, that you're the one that actually swipes to pick it up. Okay. So you'll be the random lucky person to swipe and actually accept that delivery. Now, it does not matter up above all of that. So go up to the left now. What account placed the order? We don't care about that right now because that's going to be easy to find out. But what does matter is the completion of the transaction from the Dasher side. Okay. So Brian leaving his apartment, if he would have swiped on it and accepted it, okay, he could do that. Then he gets in his vehicle. So he could accomplish step 1, which would be accepting the DoorDash. Part 2, be the lucky random person. Yep, anything can happen, So sure, could he be so lucky that he saw it, swiped on it, was like, oh, yay, I finally got to deliver to them. Today's my day. Now I can pull off my murder. Sure. But you'd have to have, because you don't know who, it doesn't show you where you're going to be delivering. It doesn't tell you anything like that except the amount. Now, going down to number 3. So if you zoom in at 2:47, they say that that's the last known time that his phone is working on a network. Could it be that he was showing up at the location to actually accept the DoorDash at 2:47, and that was his last known location, and he was able to get step 2 in? Yes, absolutely. There you go. So you can get 1, 2, I'm sorry, that should be actually labeled 3, which would then notify through the app on the other end that your DoorDash was successfully picked up. Okay. Now going down here to number 3, this is part that would not be able to be completed. Meaning this, Brian's phone, after it shuts off and is not, it could, if it's in airplane mode or if it's off, regardless, it doesn't touch any of the towers. It's not using anything until 4:48 a.m. So upon arriving at the residence, okay, when they write in the PCA that Xana received a DoorDash, they don't say that Xana placed the order. So that is still up for interpretation on who actually ordered the DoorDash. I've DoorDashed a ton of times to people, as well as places that's not really my house, but you can send DoorDashes out. But in order to have received, and to use the word received, if it is in terms of the app, you have to complete it by logging it all the way through, which is you're either physically handing it to your log out, swipe out, or depending on their preference, if they want you to leave it at the door and then you take a picture. But that's what cashes you as a driver out. That's what would complete it. That means Brian would have to turn back on his phone out of either airplane mode or actually physically turn it on to complete that. Now, people could say Brian wasn't using that phone. Is that a possibility? Absolutely. Absolutely. But was this phone the phone number and account that was the dasher? No. But does that mean that Brian couldn't have used a different phone? Well, of course he could have. And that number would be the number that's associated with that account and app. But the number that's in the PCA, no way, because it wouldn't be able to register that it actually got delivered and that she received it. Now, the part of the video where, because I loved where Drip Drop was going with it when he said, hey, why don't you look at the online and notice how they never clear the dasher, the DoorDash driver. And immediately I was like, hot damn, good job, good call. Yes, there you go. Well, he got me thinking and I was like, oh shit, hold up. They never publicly ever talked about the DoorDash driver. Every single person that they ever cleared on that list is somebody that law enforcement publicly talked about. The DoorDash driver was never mentioned. We had no idea that the DoorDash driver, that even Xana had a DoorDash. None of that was known to us until we get the PCA and we hear about this DoorDash. So when you back it on up, you're like, okay, you're not going to clear somebody publicly when nobody even knows. Oh, hey guys, by the way, the DoorDash driver, he's cleared. We don't even, who's the DoorDash driver? So the DoorDash driver was never known to anybody, so therefore he would never be cleared. Need to be cleared by all to us because we don't even know that exists. So the last step of being a dasher would not be able to be completed. So that would be like a glitch eventually. So could Brian Kohberger had shown up and been like, "Hey, I was the DoorDash guy. I was there that night." Absolutely. But the part that is different from Allen's to this is, if you're following the Delphi case, Richard Allen's PCA includes that in it. So I believe that there is no way that the PCA would not include that, because that would be so strong to say he came to us, he said he was this delivery driver, blah, blah, and go on and so forth. Because the PCA is designed to arrest Brian Kohberger. Now, I am excited to, oopsies. Let's see, here we go here. There you go. Drop, hit that link. Or you can just say, I'm in bed with a mask on and cucumbers over my eyes. So, number 3 is 100% not needed, but you would never complete the order. So immediately, that's going to raise high suspicion on whoever the DoorDash driver would be then, to say, well, here, we pulled this and your app was in airplane mode. It was on and off. It was sketch. It was coming in. It was coming out. There you go. So I knew you had your cucumbers on. That's the only way that your makeup looks so good. I know your secret at night now, Drip Drop. So again, going back to, if he would have inserted himself right off the rip in the beginning, is that possible? Sure, 100%. But I believe that he would have had to do that with a different phone, and I believe all of that would be in the PCA. That Brian came forward, said he was the DoorDash guy. He gave us this account number with this phone number. Okay, yep, it registered, it hit on, yada, yada, yada. So I was very specific with the title for a reason, to say that that phone number is not associated with this whatsoever. And here you guys go. Copy. So I believe that Brian Kohberger is not the DoorDash driver. Otherwise, it would be in the PCA, because that would be huge. Want to hear your thoughts? 3 minutes per caller, and we'll run it for 40 minutes here. At the hour mark, it's over. Maybe Drip Drop can write in his questions and we'll highlight those. Again, if you haven't been over to see Drip Drop's video, he dropped an amazing video, got me thinking. But at the end of the day, the points that he made were so valid that I switched my whole Sunday. But I was able to come through on the points that he made, to the point of explaining what I just did in the past 20. So, again, I think I dropped that link. If you think Brian is a DoorDash driver, hit the link. If you don't think he is, hit the link if you have something to attribute to this topic. Yes, happy Sunday there. Again, the DoorDash search warrant from January 1st, 2022 to present day, looking for the dates and times of sales, dates and times of deliveries, purchases and or transactions, name and identification of the drivers each time that they got an order, a full description of the vehicles used. And that was the other part, is that I believe in the PCA, to bulk up your PCA against Brian Kohberger, you would have gone in more detail about the description of the DoorDasher and that they were able to identify their car when they got there and things like that. And we cross-reference it with the app to show, blah, blah, blah. So, so here we go. And there you go. There you go. Again, great video there. Drip drop got me thinking. And at the end of the day, for the following reasons listed in my video, Brian Kohberger is not the DoorDash driver with his own phone and that account. Hello, what's up? How are you?
Hi, how are you guys? Lana,
Good. How are you?
I love you. Your humor. I die, especially. Can we get Enon back?
We could try.
We need him. I would say, do you want to see my cat? But they're outside.
You have cats?
Oh, yeah. And I was listening to the conversation the other day of the lady, like, when kids give cats dumbass names? And I'm like,
oh,
me.
yeah.
Literally
yeah.
me.
My that's what Mandy was saying.
Yeah. My kids named our cat
Buddy.
Fiddlesticks. Yeah.
Kids do that.
Moment of silence. Okay, question.
What's up? What do you think?
I've been thinking about this nonstop and I've never called into a show before. I need to know, do you think that upon the release of the autopsy findings that they're going to find like skin DNA under the fingernails of the victims that matches Brian? Yes or no?
I don't think so.
I have the same feeling.
I don't think so.
How will they explain that?
How will they explain it? I'm not sure. I think that I think that would have probably been there, just like if you're going to talk about the sheath, I think that would have been talked about as well.
Mm-hmm.
That the sheath then matched, but they were actually really, they were very creative with that piece. But I don't know. I don't think that's there. I don't.
Okay, I'm with you. And I feel like people have been waiting for that and assuming that that's going to be, discussed in trial or after the preliminary or whatever. But I don't think it's going to be there.
I don't think it's going to be there.
No, and they found one bloody shoe print, latent print. We don't even know if it was blood or what, in the whole house where 4 people were brutalized. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I think this is one of those type of cases. I think that's why it's captivated America and other, countries, because this is, who could just come into someone's house like they did, or whoever did it, or if it was one person or multiple people. And I think some of the tactics that they had to use to do this, to be able to arrest Brian Kohberger is just, I don't want to say it's questionable. It's interesting. It's something was definitely up. Something was definitely up.
It leaves answers to be desired for sure. And my other question to you before my time is out, let's say it was Brian. Do you think he stripped down before leaving the house and changed clothes? How's there no blood outside?
I think it's interesting that all of these things are supposed to take place in such a short amount of time.
Right.
So you want all of these things. I mean, we don't know. Maybe there is a trail and stuff like that. They're just not talking about it. So I do think that's possible. But there's, I think the cameras that people have in the media, they were zooming in, and I think they would have caught, like, I mean, when you're opening up the slider, you know, your hands being bloody. I mean, you know what I mean? We didn't see that. Questionable on the whole, you know, trampling in, trampling out. But then if you saw the Aiden Fucci, I mean, he took his shoes off and he was running with his shoes in his hand. So I do think that that he could have done that. Whoever did this could have done that. But
do I have time for one more question that I think the people want to know?
Sure.
Who do you guess is Ashley Banfield's source, inside source close to the investigation? Is it you?
It's not me. It's not me.
Okay.
I would say, if I had a guess, I mean, I know that obviously I think Kara's one of her sources, or, you know, or was, or whatever. But I don't think it's anybody from the defense.
No.
You know?
No.
So.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's so nice to finally talk to you.
I know.
I think we're long lost cousins. Like, we're related somehow. I just don't know how yet.
Probably. Again, my family's huge, so it's probably somewhere on that Italian side.
I don't know. I'm not Italian, so shit's getting interesting.
Shit. Well, there we go.
Thank you.
Well, you're a sweetheart. Thank you so much, Rach. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Okay, bye, hon. Oh, wait, hold up. She can just write it in chat. What's up, Sheila? How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I've got you on just one ear now. I haven't got the YouTube on, so you're not coming through double.
Okay. What's up? What do you think?
Well, I just want to say hi, Lana, and hi to Drip Drop. I just wanted to tell you about my aha moment, but in the relation to what the other lady was saying about how did he not get blood everywhere. I think he had overalls on, and he put them in like a plastic bag before he left, and had things on his shoes, like to cover his shoes, and then he just put them all in the bag before he left with a knife.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But anyway, my aha moment, which I told you about, was
give it to me, girl.
Well, basically, we were always wondering and things not making sense and how they got to BK. There's a lot of us thinking that they got to BK really early and it had nothing to do with the white Elantra. So I think they were given the name from someone in the house, but they didn't want to disclose, and it might not have even been someone in the house. They didn't want to disclose where they got this information from because it would have showed up a lot of other stuff that they wanted to keep quiet. This is very controversial. So they knew he had a white Elantra, but they didn't want him to know that they were on his tail. So they didn't say what year they wanted. So they changed the years around a bit, even knowing what he had. So what do you call them? Tick and tack, or what do you call them two guys?
Frick and frack.
Yeah, frick and frack. Yeah.
So who do you think? Do you think that he was the driver? Do you think that he was a DoorDasher?
No.
Okay.
No, because it would have been a silly move. Because like you've surely got to register and everything.
Yep.
To be a DoorDash driver. I mean, to put yourself right on time.
I think it'd be in the PCA.
Yeah, and I think it would be in the PCA. But yeah, but going back to like what I was saying, I think they knew that Brian had a Elantra, so they put a lookout for a Elantra so that they could say that's how they got him.
Gotcha. Well, I love you, girl. I'm gonna keep this moving.
Okay.
And thank you for your email. I got your email as well. Love you, babe.
Okay, thanks, Lana.
All right, bye. See you soon.
Bye.
She's a sweetheart.
Oh,
what is up there, Annie? What do you think? DoorDash or no DoorDash or no DoorDash?
Hey there. Okay, so I'm gonna say probably not the DoorDash driver.
Okay.
Here's why I think that.
Okay.
I believe that the same people who I would say elected. What? Cheers. Happy Sunday. Hope everybody's doing good. Yes. So here's why I don't think he was the DoorDash driver. I don't think he was the DoorDash driver because I believe the same people who coached the surviving witnesses to open all the windows and open the doors and freeze the place out were the same people fudging the timeline on purpose. I wouldn't doubt it. They actually used her phone to, I don't even think they used her phone, to be honest. We never got confirmation it was actually Xana's phone that ordered the DoorDash. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone else did it intentionally to intentionally mess with the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. That's what I think. I think that they were probably, when she was supposedly getting this DoorDash and playing on TikTok, I don't think she actually was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
believe they created.
I think that would have been I think that would have.
Purpose.
Yeah, I think the search warrant also helps with me saying, my reasons for saying no, but also the fact that Xana received a DoorDash order. Going to be interesting about that wording, and then saying that law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. What I think's interesting, though, is that in this you would expect, you have this to arrest Brian Kohberger, right?
Right.
You're placing somebody at the crime scene, right? At the time around the crime, right? With the DoorDash driver. I'm just kind of shocked that in this, it does not talk about the vehicle that the DoorDash driver was driving.
Right.
Because that would actually help the case against Brian Kohberger, I think.
Well, that's kind of the point.
And for it not being there, that's interesting to me.
Right. Well, that's kind of the point. I would not be surprised if the white Elantra probably was the DoorDash driver, but it was not Brian Kohberger, is kind of what I'm getting at. I believe that someone else placed that DoorDash order, and they did it to intentionally deviate the timeline and the time of death.
Also, we have to remember that when you have to go pick up a DoorDash, wherever it would have gotten picked up from, there's going to be cameras there. So what car was it that picked up this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So.
Well, I can tell you, too, as someone, I do DoorDash part-time, and I can tell you that you have no control over the orders you're getting. You can't see the address where the order's going, so you accept the order. Even if you were to accept an order and then shut your phone off. Well, at that point, from the moment that you shut the phone off, you are technically what's like in pause mode. And after 35 minutes of being in pause mode, it will kick you off the app. Do you understand? It's going to end your dash after the 35 minutes is up.
Yeah, it's gonna cause like a funky reaction to the point of that's going to even lead more suspicion on the DoorDash person.
On the driver. And DoorDash has the entire account of whoever ordered it, the moment that it was placed, how it was paid for, whose account it was ordered from. They will know that immediately. And if they're getting warrants for DoorDash orders all the way back to the beginning of 2022, well, then they probably don't think Brian's the DoorDash driver because he didn't get there till July, right? So it would make sense to me if they were just going from the time he arrived at Pullman from like July to November. I could understand maybe they think it's him that was the driver or whatever, but if they're going back to the beginning of January 2022, he didn't get there till July.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
He moved in July. That's when his
so
lease was started,
my guess is when it comes to the DoorDash, maybe they want to see who else was ordering food to that address from what accounts.
Yeah, 100%. That address, when you pump that in, it's going to show anybody who's made an order.
It'll show every order that's gone there for the year. Correct.
Yeah. I love you, Annie.
Love you. Have a great night.
Love your emails. Keep them coming. You're the best. Give it up for Andy. Give it up for all of the callers so far. Everybody's always awesome here. Diana?
Yes.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Um, well, thank you so much for having me. This is an
Absolutely.
addiction at this point.
Oh God, right?
So I really don't think DoorDash is guilty, nor BK is DoorDash. It would be
Okay.
really easy to figure that out with the DoorDash phone. I bet there are cameras from around that neighborhood, right? Like even really next to the house. I really don't think it makes any sense that
Yeah.
any of these. I think even like the DoorDash might be really like their star witness.
I
And
was
that's
just
why
gonna
they're
say
keeping
that.
him like, no, we're not gonna let anybody know about this guy.
I actually think that, you know, there's a lot of things when you think that you could plan the perfect murder, something's gonna happen. And I think this is one of those things is that holy shit, Xana or somebody ordered this DoorDash and it really like that was something that nobody was planning for. And here that happens. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
it's
because
one of
it
those
doesn't
things
make
that I believe
sense.
in the end is going to be really telling. It's going to be very. It's one of those
Yeah.
things that like maybe because of it that helps put Brian Kohberger away if he did it, or if someone didn't do it and you're trying to frame somebody, and that DoorDash person, you know, well, God, if Xana would have never ordered that DoorDash, then I would have never been there to do, you know, for X, Y, or Z or whatever. But you can't plan for everything, and it's one of those situations that you look at like, oh God, you know, Xana just decided to order a DoorDash. This is something that people weren't expecting that could have been involved with this. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, so it's like a
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do. I think that, the two girls couldn't have ordered. They had already eaten at the grub truck. And
Mhm.
again, if Bethany or Dylan ordered, that would be easily trackable. Um, w- I don't know. It's just really, really,
Yeah,
really
it's just
confusing. I don't
it's
want to take all this time.
that's
I know
okay.
there are other callers.
Well, I thank you
Um,
for hitting the link.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome,
Um,
Diana. Thank you for being
and
here.
thank you. See you around, guys.
Okay, Melissa, how are you? Oh, what? Hold on. Oh, Melissa hit that again. Sorry about that. There you go. Hey, sorry about that. It's
Can
my
you hear me
fault.
now?
Yeah, that's my fault.
So I was just calling to say, when you were talking about how there was no blood on the outside, I don't know if you listened to T-Rev's show one day, but a WSU mom called in and it wasn't Kim, okay? It wasn't Kim. And she said that,
Was it Paula?
I don't know what her name was, but she
I
said
don't know.
that everyone in that program at D Sales was given their own set of personal protection equipment. So that's the same equipment that the crime scene investigators wear, so they don't have to worry about bodily fluids or any of that shit.
Oh yeah, because he was in. They have like the house and stuff that they do. I know what you're talking about.
Right. So I mean that could explain that. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think, DoorDash driver? You think Brian Kohberger or not Brian Kohberger?
I don't think so because it logically doesn't make any sense. But I'll tell you this from the get-go, me and my husband were both like, there's way more to this story than meets the eye. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah,
A lot,
for
a
sure.
lot more. But that's all I wanted to say, and thank you for having me. And you have a
Oh,
wonderful,
absolutely. Thank
happy
you for.
birthday month.
Oh yeah, I've been
Cheers.
definitely enjoying it.
Cheers, man. You have a good
Thank
night.
you. I appreciate that. That was kind. Thank you. Tell your husband he's smart. Let's see who we got. Bridget. Did I hit the right one? There you go. What's up, Bridget?
Hey.
Bridget, you brought me to bed with you. Yay.
Yeah, my dogs are in bed. Do you see them?
Aw. What are their
Anyway,
names?
we're all in bed. I can't get this damn thing. Okay, I'm going to tell you why he cannot possibly be the DoorDash driver.
Okay.
You want to know why?
That's why I'm here.
If he cannot possibly be the DoorDash driver because the DoorDash bag was left in the house. If he was the DoorDash driver and he brought the bag to the house, it would be in evidence right now. There's no way they would leave it there.
I think,
He
yeah, I
brought
think that
to
I
the
think,
house and was at the scene.
yeah, I think that everybody thinks that that bag is the DoorDash bag. I don't agree with that. Have you guys ever seen like a college house? Like that bag could have been ordered from 4 nights ago. So I just think for people to like zoom in and see that bag, to assume that that was the DoorDash food that was ordered the bag. But I totally agree with you. Why wouldn't that be in evidence? You'd be 100%. I know they went back there multiple times to process the scene. They could have taken it, you know what I mean, a different time. Because they didn't think it was important. I don't know. But I just think to assume that that's the bag, that would be the DoorDash food. I think that, I mean, you're speculating. That house had stuff all over it. That could have been, you know how many times I gone in college and brought my own food to someone's party? Like Taco Bell all the time.
Yeah, but that bag was so new looking. I don't even know if the food in it had even been eaten. I mean, it looks, because an empty bag's gonna like fall over and stuff, and they had picked it up and moved it and set it on the sink, and it never changed form. It was always just sitting up nice and pretty, like something was in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
That's what I saw anyway.
I agree with you on the fact that if that was it, when you would have talked to this DoorDash person, you would have went back in there and got it at some point. So that wouldn't be in there now. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you didn't realize it was important. And then when you talk to this DoorDash guy, you go like, okay, let's go in there and go get that. But I think that it's wrong for us to assume that that is that bag from that night. It could be, but doesn't mean just because there's a bag, oh, that's the DoorDash and it was in the kitchen versus, in the bedroom. They're college kids. I would think that they would just take their bag into their room.
This is where I'm coming from. Because remember, I used to be a cop like many, many, many years ago. When I was on scenes of murders like that, we took everything that we even suspected had anything to do with it. And if they knew that a DoorDash had come, or if it was sitting there with food in the bag, if there's any indication that it happened or had anything to do with the time period, it would be gone. So, I mean, yeah, it could be from
it's
that day, and maybe they took the DoorDash bag.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think that picture is from Daily Mail, and that was taken on day 2. So, and that they were there processing it for 13th, 14th, 15th. So it would just be like with that, you know what I mean? Because I agree with you. You should be taking whatever you think. Like, also, there would be so much in that house to take because of having a party the night before. Like they were pre-gaming before they went to the Sigma Chi or the formal on whatever on Friday night. You know what I mean? Like I totally agree with you. I agree that it wouldn't be there. Like I agree with you. Why would the evidence be in the house? I think it just depends on when that picture was taken and, when you talk to the DoorDash person, okay, we need to go back in there and get that bag. You mean,
the first few days it was just such a big thing. They kept showing the bag.
But it was the same. I thought it was the same picture over and over.
Channel. I saw it at least twice. Like once, I think it was on the table, and then they moved it up by the sink.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to show anything that's by the windows. I thought it looked like that they moved the table where they played beer pong over, which I thought was weird. If you look at the angle of the beer pong table, the one picture, but then again, was it just the angle of the picture? But I agree with you. It would make sense that they didn't take stuff that they needed because they're maybe not as experienced. But that was what Idaho State forensic team, like they are experienced in that. So, you know, at the end of the day, if they went back in there and grabbed stuff, you would think that that would be one of the things, if that would be part of the DoorDash, because the DoorDash person should have their DNA on something that they delivered. Unless the DoorDash person's going to say, I was wearing gloves.
Yeah, I mean, him being a DoorDash driver would make sense because he'd been there 12 times or whatever in the area. But at the end of the day, I don't think it was him that night. Especially with
well, don't you think, you're a cop, wouldn't it be in the PCA? Like, I mean, he told us he was a door. Don't you think that would be in the PCA?
I think it would, yeah. I think that they would use that as probable cause that he was there, and they can prove he was there because he admitted being there. I mean, that's
at the time of the
big,
crime.
you know.
At the time of the crime.
Right, exactly.
There wasn't like
So
just at the, if this is, you're somebody's coming there to say I was there at the time of the crime. Like that to me is a lot. You know, you'd put that in a PCA, wouldn't you?
yeah. Exactly, because
especially if you're
I mean,
uncovering
that
it,
puts
especially if
him
you're
there.
talking
I
about
mean,
it.
They have to have that.
Yeah.
And you know, I appreciate all the work that Crime Circus does and everything, but
Me too.
I think that sometimes just the wording is, people make mistakes and leave things out, or you know, word it kind of weird. So I can understand where he got it from, but I just don't really think it was him, the DoorDash, that night. But anyway, that's all I got tonight, girl.
Well, you're the
Thanks for
best, girl.
having
Go
me.
get some rest. Thank you for bringing you and your dogs up. We always love hearing from you.
All right,
You're a sweetheart.
see you.
All right. Bye, girl. She knows her stuff. She definitely knows her stuff. How you doing there?
Hi.
Hi.
I've never called in before. I think you're amazing.
Oh, thank you so much.
So-
Appreciate you.
I'm a psychology professor and I listen to
Oh,
you
wow.
all the time. And no, I'm not like psycho.
No, that's great.
So I also see that you're getting your degree right now, right? Aren't you writing papers? You just wrote a 15-page paper or something.
No,
Or was that just for this?
I'm just representing myself in a,
That's
in
just
a
for
case.
this. Well, you should
I'm
be a
lawyering
lawyer.
myself.
You should be a lawyer because you're doing great. I have 45 days left for my doctorate and then I'm done.
Really?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So this is my question. I do not think he was the DoorDash driver. However, do you think, because from what I heard, and it might have been from you, that you can order until 2:45, but you could have it delivered at any time? And so do you think that he could have ordered it from a burner phone to create this mess that we're doing right now? And taking this time that we're taking, right, to see if he could have been the DoorDash driver? Like maybe that's the point.
Yeah, I don't think that you would have came forward then.
No. So not the DoorDash driver, but could he have placed the order from
Yeah,
a
but
burner?
then who's going to be the person that's there to like?
So he would place the order and then
Would never go
pay
pick it
for
up.
So like, in other words, my brother sometimes will like place an order and he'll pay for it, whatever, and he pays it, and they just come and drop it off here.
Yeah,
So
100%.
could he be like used a burner and place the order so that it looked like they would be there at 4 a.m. So he said to deliver it at 4 a.m. So what, because it's only a half a mile from his house. Like if you look up Jack in the Box, it's only
100.
half a mile.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this was about him being the actual dasher. Him actually.
Right. I don't think he was the dasher.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, do you think he could have placed the order?
Could I? Yes.
And set it up so that it arrived there around the same time he did, which is why he circled a few times, because he was waiting for the DoorDash to get delivered so that he could do it around the same time so that people might think that he could have been the DoorDash driver. I'm just thinking the psychology behind. I like about antisocial personality disorder, and that's what, if he did this, that's what he would allegedly have.
Yes,
That's something that you would think.
I think that could he have placed the call and made it so that there was another vehicle that traveled back there? But if he knows that area, he knows that the person that's delivering the food is going to be in and like literally out within like a minute. You get what I'm trying to say? Like,
right,
so,
but it still gives speculation. Like, could it be the DoorDash driver?
Yeah, but I
like
think
giving
that, I think
reasonable
that you would
doubt.
be. I think that would kind of No, because I think that when you see it on camera, because he knows that all the cameras are there, they're going to see that DoorDash driver get there and leave within a matter of 1 minute to 2 minutes.
So there's a camera that would capture the DoorDash
So,
driver?
so what he could maybe bank on though is that they wouldn't know that a DoorDash actually happened.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying? So, but yeah, you're going to see what I believe is they have this car coming and going. They have him coming and going allegedly 4 different times, right?
Right.
So you're going to have this DoorDash coming.
So what
at
if
least-
he knew that? That's what I mean. What if he knew that the DoorDash was coming?
Yeah, but that car would be leaving in a matter of 1 or 2 minutes. So how do you kill 4 people in 1 or 2 minutes?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, in other words, if he kills them or whatever, but that way people are like, oh, was it the DoorDash driver? Even though it's not, but still, we're still even focusing on it right now and giving it time, right? So it just brings.
No, it would have been, but I'm saying like the only reason we're talking about it is because of if he was actually the dasher. Because no, I think that would have been. I think that the cops took no time into.
I hear you.
This part of
I
it.
love you. I think you're doing fucking amazing. So please.
Well, but no, but I like where you're saying. Do I think that he could have called to
make it like?
But you have no idea who's gonna swipe to pick it up and stuff like that. So,
no, not even that. Just placing the order as if he was Anna.
Correct. Let me explain.
Yeah, maybe I'm just
why I would do something like that is to gain entry into the house. So if I was to wait, so a DoorDasher comes and drops off, I would have to be standing right there. So then when they open up that door, I'm then going right in.
I'm not even saying to do that. Like, even if, because I think he had his own way of knowing how to get in. I just meant to make it look like to other people that maybe it could have been the DoorDash driver. And then there's people that are smarter, like you and I, that know better. But I'm saying like to other people to make it as if, see what I'm saying?
I think that wouldn't have been good enough. I think that wouldn't have been good. And I think that you're tracing that back to him. I don't think that would have been.
I see what you're saying.
That's not solid enough.
Well, kid, I love you, and I think you're doing amazing.
I don't think it's.
I literally, I'm.
If that's the case, I would freaking have ordered 6 DoorDashes just to have all that activity. You know, the cars.
Yeah, he's not as smart as you. Like I'm being dead serious. Like you really need to like go into law or something. Like,
yeah,
you're amazing.
Thank you, and that's awesome to hear from somebody in your,
I'm literally writing my dissertation, and whenever I get the bell, I'm like, oh fuck, I need to take a break. and I do, and I take a break, and I come on.
And you come on and you listen.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're like, oh my god, I've been listening for 2 hours. I gotta go.
No, never. I would listen to you all day if I could. But I've never.
Oh, thank you.
To anything before, so I can't believe I just did this.
Oh, well, I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate you being here. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all your.
What you're saying though, as far as like, yeah, you want to order it, but I think there would be a purpose for that, and it wouldn't just be the fact of like, because a DoorDash would be in and out. So like, I just don't think you're committing a murder. That person could be. They're going to be on camera leaving and coming. So that's what leads me to believe that the car that they're seeing is actually the car of the DoorDash person.
No, I do think that it was right. I see what you're saying. I guess what I'm saying is like, if you can only order from DoorDash there, I think somebody called. I don't know where I was watching it, but you can only make.
I don't know why everybody's so set on it's the Jack in the Box, because you're going off of that bag.
Oh,
I don't know why people are on that kick. It's because of that bag, and I'm telling you guys,
as a psychologist,
that's total speculation.
I would give you, as a college instructor and at the university level, you would just have gotten extra credit points for just saying that. You are 1,000% correct. That was so not critically thinking on my part.
Because I just think
that right there, what you just said right there, just totally. I have no more questions in my mind. I wasn't thinking critical. You're right. What if it wasn't Jack? Like, you're right.
I don't think it was Jack in the Box.
Oh, well, then you're right. Then that makes total sense.
They've never said it. I think we should all be kind of. I'm telling you what Drip Job did for me today was to eliminate the fact that phone number was not the DoorDash driver, was his phone number. Now, could it be Brian with a different number? Sure. But I just explained how that would all have to work, and that's some crazy ass odds. But I think what we should be really focused in on is why there isn't more about the DoorDash driver to eliminate the DoorDash driver with the PCA to make it stronger against Brian.
I see what you're saying.
Like it should be, they should be saying that the DoorDash driver, again, in my opinion, They came forward, identified their vehicle. Their vehicle was nothing like suspect vehicle 1, period. You know, because how do you know that, okay, yeah, the DoorDash person, then had somebody in the car with them, they could have dropped them off. I mean, they can go on some crazy wild thing like that. But to me, I think this was a break in terms of like, you know, if you plan on framing somebody, say that they're planning on framing Brian. Holy shit. Now you kind of can't. You never thought in a million thousand years, oh my God, what if one of the girls orders DoorDash? Like that's a variable that you cannot plan for.
Right.
But it puts somebody there, and it puts somebody like, did you see Brian Kohberger there when you were there? No. That actually hurts your case. Did you see another car coming and going? So I'm curious as to know if they know what time they think suspect vehicle 1 is doing all this stuff, then they have to know what time the DoorDash person is doing all of this stuff.
1000%. You have such a critical mind. I love it. No,
so, but I think that what Drip Job did for me today was he also made it known that they never publicly cleared the DoorDash person. Well, they haven't touched any of those pieces of paper and that website since the time that they arrested Brian. So they never publicly told us that there was even Xana got a DoorDash that night. So you don't need to publicly clear anybody, because we had no idea until the PCA came out that there was even a DoorDash that night.
That's
so with everything else that's on there, you had everybody, you know. So I'm hoping that his video and then my reaction right after it then brings enough attention to maybe they'll clear the DoorDash person now. But then there's the gag order, so they kind of can't. You know what I mean? But they're not going to clear anybody because they didn't need to publicly clear somebody because we didn't know about that person.
No, you're right.
Everybody else was publicly being talked about. Like,
you're right. You're really good at this.
The TikToker, like they had to publicly clear that professor because she was just getting. Same thing with the grub truck guy. They wanted to clear hit. You know, everyone's saying he's a stalker and he's this and well, yeah, you made him look like one. Just release the damn Adam video earlier and you would have just had to show that they were walking together and nobody would have been like that dude was like following them and didn't know them.
1000%.
And so why they didn't do that but I don't think that you should be publicly clearing anybody because you don't know at that point.
No, you're right. I think they were just under a whole lot of pressure.
Yeah. So
I think that's what happened.
But I love your calling. I think that I get what you're saying, that Brian used a different phone. I think that's too problematic. I think that's way too.
Well, if or when we ever get into the psychology aspect of it, I'm your girl.
All right. Make sure you email me so that I have that connect.
All right. Definitely.
All right. Thank you so much,
Keep
Professor.
Up the great work. You're awesome.
Well, did I get an A?
An A+ for sure. You have me thinking, and if any of my students are watching right now, I'm going to get a text message, and they're going to be like, well, first they're going to be like, WTF, but then they're going to be like, damn, she got you, because they'll be able to tell that my wheels are spinning right now, and that's hard to do.
This is why I always went to the office hours afterwards. I put my like charm on my professors.
You're amazing. You are charming. That is great. You're amazing. All right, keep up the good work, kid.
All right, thanks, girl. Appreciate you. Mr. Lex.
Hi, Lena. How are you?
Oh, I couldn't wait to get to this one.
I usually don't call back to back like this, but there's so many crazy developments going on.
Don't act like you don't like back to backers. Come on now.
Crime Circus created a circus. Created a circus with this. It makes absolutely no sense. I could say with absolute certainty that BK is the DoorDasher. What logic is behind this? That would mean that Ellie found out a link that BK was actually at the crime scene. Actually has a link to the crime scene.
No, that he said that because he came forward, like how Richard Allen allegedly came forward and said, hey, I was down at the bridge. Like he came forward to say that in the beginning, like early on. So what he's saying is that BK came forward to be like, when I saw that, I delivered a DoorDash there last night. So that's what he's saying. He came forward early on, said, hey, I delivered a DoorDash there. So he did that way early on, as in like within like a couple days of what making the news and stuff like that. So he came forward. So that's what he's saying. And the reason that he was connecting some of the dots with that is because then they never, if you go and look at the list of all the people that they cleared, they never publicly cleared. They said, this person's not it. We don't believe that this person. And they never said, we don't believe that it's a DoorDash guy. And I thought all of these things were great points. Okay. And it would have like got them in and off of like thinking that, hey, I told you guys that I was there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Elena,
I touched that bag because I dropped it off type of thing. Right.
the only possibility
But
that
it's
I
not
can
true.
see, the only possibility would be if BK had an accomplice. That's the only way. If you're that person that delivered that door, if you're the person that delivered that DoorDash, right? And you know that, you would say that
It's too random though. You can't have your accomplice be the DoorDash dude. Because
right.
you don't know who's it's you have to have your app on. Then when it comes through, you're the person that has to miraculously swipe on it. There's no way to account for it. I think if anything, like I said, the DoorDash ruined something.
But why would you need to deliver a DoorDash to commit this crime? I mean, the only thing I could think of is if you needed someone to open that door and you could break in, to guarantee that you could break into the house.
That's what I said, that you could but yeah, so you would send it there. You would send it to them yourself off of a burner or something like that.
Correct.
And then you would be waiting there for the DoorDash person to come. And then once if they came and they left, if they have to open up the door, but how do you know they're even going to open up a door at 4 a.m.? How do you know that the DoorDash person wasn't just going to leave it at the side of the door and take a picture?
Right. And how would you know if someone rang your doorbell and you see an order that you did not, no one in the house ordered? Did you order anything? I didn't order anything. I mean, that would be so suspicious to me. And I just don't see any logic behind the DoorDash person being BK. Why would he need to do that? Unless
there was never a DoorDash, but see, then you're taking a huge risk. So let's say there was never a DoorDash and Brian just comes forward to say, I delivered a DoorDash there last night.
And here's another thing, right? Let's say he needed someone to open the door. Okay. Let's say he needed someone to open the door. That means he would have to attack whoever opens the door, and there would have to be some evidence at wherever it was delivered. It's just a bad logic all the way around. Get what I'm saying? What is the logic behind this? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think what it does, I'm telling you, it's problematic in terms of everything that car did highlights what a DoorDash person would do. So what I think is, how are they going to be able to prove that wasn't the DoorDash driver?
But here's what I think, and
how are they going to be able to prove that car? And I think what they're going to say is that the DoorDash person, the car came and it was there for however many minutes, and then I just think it would be one of those fluke things.
Here's what they suggested in the beginning. In the beginning, they said that if the DoorDash came around and was afraid to drive up the parking lot to deliver it, because a lot of DoorDash, they get robbed that way. So they said that maybe the DoorDash person would go around in circles till he realized, okay, I got to make a delivery. They usually don't park their car and walk a long way to deliver to deliver the order, because they could get robbed that way. So my thought would be that the DoorDash person is going around in circles, because they said the white Elantra went around in circles. Mm-hmm. So that's my take. That's the only assumption I could make, is that the DoorDash, I mean the white Elantra was the DoorDash. But then they said they spoke to the DoorDasher, and I don't think that they could put that in the PCA that, okay, the DoorDash person was driving a white Elantra. I don't think.
No, I think that what you would do is you would, that should either help. You should be able to put it in there to help your case. Mm-hmm. So for them putting it even in there, okay, and then this is all they say about it. They just say, this is with the exception of Xana, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Well, did they identify him through the search warrant that they did on 12/6 and whenever it came back? I'm curious to know when that all took place. There should be more information about that. There should be because what you would have is you'd have that person in, you would ask them what kind of car they drove. You'd look at the camera. You'd know, just like when Brian was coming in and out, you would know when the DoorDash person was coming in and out, and you'd want them to identify the vehicle that they drove. Yep, that's that. That's yep. And then here's my app. Here's the time of it. Okay, yep. See, I just dropped it off there. Then I got back in my car and I just drove away. Okay. You get what I'm saying? Like that's what investigators would do. The thing that I thought was interesting is them going the lengths of, they wanted to know everybody that had ever delivered there.
Mhm.
So, and they wanted to know what was ordered. They wanted to know anything that associated with 1122 King Road from January 1st, 2022 until present day. They wanted to know the make and model of the vehicle of anybody that was a driver.
Right.
So I thought that was, and I want to know where that kind of came from. Why you'd want to know anything about the past if somebody had come forward and told you that they were the DoorDash, here's the receipt, here's this, here's
Correct.
that.
Correct.
Did it send them on some wild, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No.
Did they see Xana's phone and then they realized because her phone was downloaded, and when they would have went through apps and stuff like that, they would have seen, oh, actually she used, because it'll show you when the last time you used what app. Oh,
I was just about to say that.
She used DoorDash that night. Look at this. She ordered DoorDash.
Right.
Okay, so when I come across that, so I think it's going to be interesting, the links of what you did in the order you did it. When you were coming across stuff, how did you really know about the DoorDash person? If this person came forward, I mean, if you DoorDashed, if you're not one to watch TV and you're not into true crime or whatever, and you heard, okay, oh God, 4 people were killed on campus, but you're not paying attention to them. Are they really talking about 1122 King? If you got a bunch of deliveries that night, when does it really kick in? You're like, oh my God, that's where I was, delivering. So
no, if there was something suspicious about the DoorDash, it would definitely raise a red flag, because you could easily go on their phone. You could easily go on Xana's phone and see, did she order a DoorDash? Did any other victims order a DoorDash? You would easily find that out on their phone. And I mean, the difference between Uber and DoorDash, if you drive an Uber, you have to use your car. If you're doing Instant Card or DoorDash, I don't think you actually have to use your car. But still, the app would have to be, their phone would have to be on. The phone would have to be on. The app would have to be on. So the fact that Kohberger,
yeah, he would have to finish it out.
Yeah. The fact that
basically his phone was not the dasher. So he was not the dasher. So my video was about that number that they have,
right,
for Brian. That number was not the dasher.
Absolutely not.
So,
and I don't think there was an accomplice. I don't think anything with the DoorDash is involved. It doesn't make any sense logically. Nothing I don't believe so.
And I think it would be in the PCA though. It would have been like, Brian came to us, said that he was the DoorDasher. There was actually no DoorDash that night, and he inserted, just like how kind of Richard Allen's was. That's kind of what you would have seen in this. You would have taken advantage of that opportunity to write that in the PCA. Is Doc in here? Doc, you got all these ladies wondering where you've been, and they just think that I'm your gatekeeper. Good to see you in here, Doc. Hopefully you're doing well. I'm sure you are.
Let me ask you this last. Did you see the Howard Blum interview with Megyn Kelly?
I haven't watched it yet, no, but I heard that he had done one.
Okay. So he's stating that the knife sheath, that the Idaho lab didn't find any DNA on the knife sheath, that they had to send it out to Texas, and they had a contracted lab in Texas that was able to find a connection with the DNA, but the Idaho lab couldn't find anything on the DNA. So if you want to go back and watch that, I mean, I don't know much about Howard Blum, but a lot of people saying, but he's writing a book. And he seems like I
have his cell phone number. I'll give him a call, actually.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, Bella can do that. They're like tight and shit.
Yeah.
So that was what he said. He said they had to send it somewhere else to get that. Interesting, because I haven't heard, like, I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I mean,
but then again, where is he getting his information from? When did he get it? So stuff like that. So
he's like Benfield. He's claiming to have sources, inside sources. He went and spoke to them. And
he was in Pennsylvania. I know that. He definitely was in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he actually did go and meet with Kohberger's first attorney. So he actually, he was in contact with his first attorney. But that's all speculation. I'm gonna wait for the June hearing. But I think that whole story about the DoorDasher, I doubt it. I mean, I could say with 100% certainty that I doubt it. Yeah, I doubt I just doubt.
Yeah,
not possible.
Well, I love when you hit the link. So thank you for popping up here, Mr. Lex.
Absolutely. You have a great night. You have a wonderful.
Okay. You too. I'm trying to bring up subconscious mouth. It's not letting me add you because of your device. It's not connected properly. So from the back end here. So yeah. So see if you can reconnect with a different device there. But Drip Drop, you don't have to show your face. You created this circus over here. You can at least just hit the link and say, "Hey guys, thanks for talking about it." No. Again, good to see that Doc's in here. What's up, Soothy Goosey? I started a Twitter account just for you. So, by the way, if somebody wants to drop that Twitter handle. So, again, welcome, Melissa Wright. Welcome. Thank you for your membership. Appreciate that. I know, right? I think that Cammie, right? Oh, good. Now the fun starts. Yeah, you should see my opening tweet I did today. Oh, well, just observing for now. Maybe in a near future one. I do appreciate you all. Okay, well, if we're ever going to go on camera together, I get to put. We're both gonna. I want to do a paint job, ice cream paint job too. So we get to both wear some masks. But yes. Anybody else here want to keep it on topic as far as DoorDash? Do you believe that the DoorDash driver was Brian Kohberger? Yes or no? Me and Drip Drop were on the opposite sides of this one, but that does not make it any less respecting of the other's viewpoints. In fact, I blame Drip Drop for ruining my Sunday. So can I call just to hear sweet nothings? Again, great job on all the calls so far. You guys are on top of it. I think what we should really focus on, guys, is the fact that there's another person. I think there's multiple cars coming and going between, X, Y, and Z. But I've said it since day one. I will stay on this. Their phones, Maddie, Kaylee, no more outgoing on it after 2:52 a.m. And for both of them to stop at the same time. So you're going to tell me they went to bed at the same time? How do we know that it's because they didn't encounter, the perpetrator? So to say that the crimes happened between 4 and 4:25, and to only be going and using Dylan's statements plus the 2 surviving witnesses' phone data, but ignoring the victim's phone data, that to me is just, it's backwards. It's backwards. Jennifer says, I have completely changed my mind about Dee Dee. I don't think there was one on that night. Definitely possible. Respectable debates are key. Absolutely. Yeah, especially when you're using logic. I agree. 100. And I thought that he had amazing points as he does. And the only thing that I wanted to point out was the process of the DoorDash, and that you're not going to be able to complete it the right way. And as well as these going out, they never publicly, we didn't even know there was a DoorDash. So they never publicly talked about this person. So they never had to publicly then clear this person. So that's why that wasn't there. I know I was trying to bring on Subconscious Mouth, but it wasn't working. So I think it's just go look at those. I think it's on my community page. Go look at the order that they're asking and requesting for the search warrants. They wanted to get into Kaylee's Reddit, like right away. But then they don't put the search warrant in until 11 days later. And they don't get it then until 18 days after that. So very interesting. But they were wanting her Reddit right off the rip very early on. I think it's one of those things, guys, though, if you think about it, everybody was like, gosh, I hope Murphy can save the day. Maybe a hair on Murphy could have been on Brian or whoever did this, and it's not supposed to be there. We're going to find it. Maybe this DoorDash type of thing is a situation that you were never expecting that, oh, gosh, she ordered a DoorDash, and that somehow is going to help in this process. So, Lana, hit the link, girl. Tell me what you're thinking. Lana, I'm on the opinion DoorDash could be Brent. That's why not named and only identified, or they identified but haven't found or spoken to yet. Yes, they're very, very. Their wording is everything. So I think what Suvi is talking about here is how they say in parentheses, law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. And I think that could be seen 2 ways. Law enforcement, after getting the search warrant, was able then to see who made the November 13th delivery, was able to see what the vehicle was, the name of the person we identified. So law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Was it law enforcement reporting that information? The DoorDash driver reported this information. I mean, all the information that they wanted because of that search warrant, that was interesting. Right? I mean, why are you concerned about any of the DoorDashes prior to that day? So go back and take a look at that. But the DoorDash search warrant, they wanted from January 1st, 2022, all the way until present day. And that was anybody that's ever delivered there, their make and model of their car, what was ordered, like just, the sale, the date, the time, all that stuff. The history of 1122 King. It wasn't the history of each person. It was, here's the address. I want the history. So you're going to give it the DoorDash. Here's this address. Who's ever delivered there from January 1st, 2022 to present day. And I want the sales, and I want to see who made each delivery and what type of vehicle they used. As far as do I think that that's possible, could have been Brent? Yeah, I think it's interesting that they don't talk enough about it. That they don't say that this person identified their vehicle and their vehicle was only the vehicle arrived at this time and then left at that time. But because that would help their cause. So that would help your PCA. is to be able to say that you're able to pinpoint those times with suspect vehicle. Well, you should be able to pinpoint the times that the DoorDash came and then left, and it should be like boom, boom. So, everybody can say that they don't have to. Let's talk about beefing up something. Because like I said on my past episode, the only out of all the search warrants and all the probable causes, there's only one that they used the DNA to put in, and that was in to arrest Brian Kohberger. They used the touch DNA. So, hey there. Yep. I don't know. I don't know if your internet is coming and going, but so. Yep. Yeah, they need to beef up their probable cause. That should beef it up. Is that working there for you? Well, maybe another time there. Subconscious mouth, maybe another time. Sorry. I don't know what's going on. Again, want to thank Drip Drop for that video. Want to thank all of you guys for being here. Thank you to the mods for modding. Oh, wait, you're trying to take the link? Oh, hold on. I got you your link. Here you go. Boom. There you go. Sorry, I didn't see that. I thought it was pinned. There you go. Well, in that case, I can have another beverage to end out my spring break. Oh, there we go. Did it work?
I made it. Yeah.
I thought it was pinned. My bad.
No, I scrolled back over and over. I was trying to find it. I couldn't. It was long gone. You have a lot of people in your chat.
You know what? On my end, it says I have 0.
Oh, there's certainly more than 0.
So I was like, this streamer has been acting up the past couple times. I don't know what they're doing. So what's good? What do you think? Thanks for popping on. I mean, I don't know what you're doing, but thanks for getting away for a second.
Of course. So this is what I'm thinking. They didn't put a name in for the DoorDash driver and then just redact it away.
Yep.
The way that it's worded is just weird. It's not like, we confirmed this information through DoorDash, or we spoke to this person who told us, like, you know how for the private driver, it was like, we met with whatever his name is, and he gave us this information, said what time he brought them home. And it doesn't say any of that. Now, then I'm thinking about that first time that the car is seen on camera. It's seen down there by Brent's house, and it's headed north towards Brian's house, where he was just pinging 2 minutes before. Right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, like you
on
mean
December-
like you're talking about in the PCA when they're talking about the 2 different roadways, and it's like he's at the same location kind of within like a 9-minute period. He doesn't really kind of move. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, so it starts at like 2:42 and he's
That he
pinging at
leaves.
his apartment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it says that he was seen on camera down by that, what is that, like 310 or 210 or something like that. He's seen on
Yeah.
camera there at 2:44, which is farther than 2 minutes away, and it's seen heading north.
Yes.
And then it's like he leaves the house again a second time. So I'm thinking about
Yeah, or he
that.
makes like he does like a weird loop because it's like 9 minutes and it's like he's in
Mhm.
the same spot that he was just before and 9 minutes ago. That's what I saw.
Now he
So
could have
yeah,
went back.
something was going on over there.
Yeah, he could have either went back to go get something, his phone maybe, for whatever reason, just to turn it off. Or somebody was going up there to pick him up. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
like
what I do
something
know,
was going on over there. If that's the vehicle that you want it to be, what's it doing over there? It should just be like
yeah,
traveling to get out of town, right? Or to go that way.
right. Yeah, like why not just go right there? Why? But regardless, I don't think it could be ignored. Like December 7th, they announced that they're looking for this 2011 to 2013
Mhm.
Hyundai Elantra.
Yeah.
7 days later, Brent Kopacka loses his shit,
Which isn't even
and
the
all
right
of a sudden,
years, by the way.
right? So all of a sudden, he has whatever. I don't know if they're trying to make it out to be he had some kind of like episode.
Well, and then they felt the need to publicly say, so they want to talk about like clearing people publicly. They went through the lengths to publicly say that the incident on WSU's campus has nothing to do with this incident. They said
How would they
they
know?
publicly said that.
They did like a couple hours after they
Yeah,
shot him dead. So how would they know that?
yeah. I mean, it was definitely the next day. I thought, which would be good, like to go back and see when actually the police said that because wasn't it Lanier that did that?
I'm gonna get this pulled up real quick because I was reading the articles about it, and I was like, now hold on a second. How would they? So December 14th at 8:30 is when they got that. They responded there for the weapons offense. And all they knew was that there was a man in his 30s that threatened to kill his roommates, right?
Which, like,
So,
who would know that? Think about that too.
well, unless it was like a roommate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, who would call that in? Or like a neighbor that's hearing someone screaming, you know what I mean?
Right. And then that carries all the way through to 3:02 in the morning where they finally put out this shelter in place order. Okay.
Yep.
Where was the shelter in place order for the last however many hours that he was in there with the gun?
Yeah, like
And
when
you
the
guys
call
were
came
out.
in.
Right. So they put out that shelter in place.
Especially what just happened.
Right.
Yeah.
You should be overly, I'd have been evacuating immediately just in case.
Especially if you're looking at WSU to even be like that's part of your thing. You're saying that's so close to be traveling back and forth, and you get a call and wait, somebody's threatening to kill their roommates. Well, wait, someone just killed 4 roommates, technically. You know what I mean?
Right. And you don't know who did it. So, I mean, not for nothing, but you should be very concerned.
You
So
think?
Well,
I agree.
They waited.
I agree.
They waited till 3:02, an hour and 24 minutes before they shot him, and then told everybody that they didn't have to shelter in place no more. So what was the point? And then it was 10:18 a.m. that District 4 PIO told the public that everything was fine and it was not connected to the Idaho incident whatsoever.
Yeah, and what's protocol there if the whole building is evacuated and the roommates aren't in there and the guy's just in there, right? So why did you feel the need to shoot him? Like, what was he doing? Was he actively shooting at the police?
Apparently. So, well, if you go into the Reddit thread, there's people that are literally like, if you go to the one that's for Pullman, well, maybe it's the WSU one. Kids were like on there actively saying like, I just got woken up at, it was like 3:00. I just got woken up from this alarm. What the hell's going on? Where is it? And then like, as shots were being fired, people were saying like, oh my gosh, I just heard, several shots. They're saying the police are saying he set off like 26 shots before they shot him. Now that seems excessive. I don't know that a SWAT team would let someone shoot at them 26 times before they take a single shot.
No. And how did you have, like, I mean, if it only took you one shot to get him in the head, I think, right?
Right.
Where were you at? Where was that sniper at?
Right. Well, there's a picture. I found a picture in one of the
Because
articles.
when I get my happy ass down to Idaho, that's like my second stop is that location to see where police were or could have been in order to take out with one shot. You're telling me a guy that's in the, like, you're telling me a guy with the type of career that he has had
Right.
is going to be standing right by windows,
Knowing what you're
accessible to
doing.
be, to be shot at.
Right.
That's like the number one thing that they teach you. Like I just wouldn't think that he'd be accessible by a window to be able to be
But
shot.
maybe he did. Maybe he did. Like, maybe, I don't know, but maybe he did. Maybe
Unless,
he
like,
did on purpose.
barricaded it. I mean,
Well, that's true too. It's very wishy-washy because it's going to be forever before we get this investigation over and done with, and then they'll just say that it was justified and that's it. We'll move on. I put in
well,
requests.
don't you think that Anne could probably get some of that information if
Anne's
she
not a
thought it had
dummy.
something
I
to do
think
with
she-
this?
No doubt. I absolutely would, wouldn't you? I would be like, I want to know
100%.
exactly what happened, exactly what he said. Especially with the timing of right after, like I said, what happened that all of us, first of all, okay, so my brother is in the Marine Corps. He's been on multiple deployments and he's now 27. If I'm 33, he's 27 years old and he's fucked up, man. And so I would like to know how long it's been since he had any type of episode with regard to his PTSD. And I want to know what set this off. The fact that it happened 7 days after they're announcing that they're putting out a manhunt for this car and blocking off the Canadian border and whatnot. Something happened. Something had to have happened, you know?
100%. Well, you would do everything you could to not shoot a vet.
Right.
And it just seems like you would, somebody that served our country, you're not going, your first thought is, okay, we got everybody out, everybody's safe. Now, you want to take him safely. You want to do everything you can to take him safely. Unless you couldn't for whatever reason, which I think everybody knows out there why that they would think that people think that he might have something to do with it or that he knew what really happened and he could blow the whistle on that. But for anybody not to think that that's suspicious, like what two universities suffer within a 30-day period? And it was right after Brian Kohberger got in a vehicle to leave to go with his dad across country. So he wasn't there. You know what I mean? So, and,
it was almost a month it was almost a month to the day.
To the day. Yep. And you know what's crazy is like, where's mainstream media? You guys, somebody that served our country was just shot in the head, threatening to kill roommates. That's just what happened. Like, where's Banfield? Where's News Nation? Why isn't anybody covering that? Why isn't anybody covering?
She's far too busy. She's far too busy.
There's a lot of people out there.
Yes, they're far too busy painting this picture. I've said it multiple times of Brian Kohberger in like a terry cloth robe and fuzzy bunny slippers, with a little bell like ringing for his maid to come and like change the channel on the TV. That's what we're focused on when there's these other things that literally make absolutely no sense. And like you said, he died tragically. That is tragic.
Heck yeah, it is.
Where were they like during this standoff? Like where were all the reports from 8:30 at night to? I saw pictures of people standing in the light. Make this make sense. In like in the daytime by like a trash can with a rifle on the ground, and it's like one guy and another guy standing above the rifle by a trash can in the daylight. When was it daylight? It was 8:30. He was dead and it was over with by 4:30. So when was it daylight?
Or especially like that time of year, it's even like the lowest amount of daylight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's awful. Yeah.
But also where he was living, it's kind of like it's a place that you are supposed to be a student or involved with the school, right?
Yeah.
So where's that paper trail of who was he living with? No one's heard from any of these roommates, just like nobody's heard from any of the roommates of 1122 King that are still alive. How many bedrooms are there? Because if you're talking about, I mean, did he have how many roommates? Who are these roommates? I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing. There's
Yeah. Where's the dispatch
his family?
called?
His family is just saying that he, basically PTSD got the best of him in the end.
Maybe that's what they were told.
Oh, yeah. But you would think that, you would think that his brother, you would think that somebody would at least want to make sure, especially if you had questions of like, who was he living with? If you told me that this happened to my sister, and I'm like, wait, she didn't have roommates, or like she only had one roommate, you know what I mean? Like, or then I would contact the roommates and say, I'm so sorry, like, and talk to them. Like, you would give your, like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you would want to know what happened, wouldn't you? You'd be contacting them to be
what
like,
happened? What did he say? What was he saying for all of those hours? What was there no way? Was there no one there with any type of military training, which I don't believe at all? No one there with any type of military training that would have been able to speak to him the way that he needed to. And I'm here to tell you, if he was in range to be shot by a sniper, okay, why couldn't anybody out of all of you get into that apartment? Are you going to tell me that he had the forethought to barricade himself in the apartment in a way that you couldn't get in, but he managed to accidentally be within the line of sight of the sniper?
well, I just think I have to go back to this. If everybody's out of that building and there's no hostages in there, and like back away from the building, let him take his own life if that's what he wants to do. Why would you ever shoot somebody?
Yeah.
If there's, you know what I'm saying? If
the threat was to him, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. If the threat's to him, there is no, like, what are you guys doing that there would be a threat? If there's a threat to you, what are you guys doing as far as being there? Like, how are you guys in danger? If you got all the perimeters secure, you have an eye on him, he's just pacing around, losing it. Like, that's fine. Like, that's what you're doing. You're keeping an eye to make sure that, but there's nobody in there. There's nobody next door. There's, we got an eye on him. So if he tries to go out to like run out to like, I don't know, come out into like, I guess the street outside, and he has a gun and stuff like that, then we can take him down. But you shouldn't be in that mindset of, we need to shoot and kill him. He released everybody. He's only a threat to himself. So when did it move from he's a threat to himself that he would be a threat to, let's say, a police officer or, a civilian? When did that change? And that's
if he intended to kill his roommates, if that was what set this whole thing off, was he was going to kill his roommates, why would he then let them go and then choose 8 hours later to start firing shots off at people on the ground?
Yeah, and I want to see, like, that should be so easy to prove that happened.
This is dragging on. And I feel like the documentation, well, God, if it's anything like some of the documentation we've seen, I could see why it would take a little while. But I just feel like there were so many of you there.
I'm going to write Donald Trump and ask him if he cares about it. Maybe he can push for it in his reelection.
the like this investigation, like, what are we still investigating? Like, it should be like, okay, A happened, B happened, C happened, and then he said 1, 2, and 3, and then we did D, E, and F. That's really all that it is. It should. This
is somebody that fought for our country, man. Like, you would do everything you don't want to shoot somebody like that. Is that?
I would hope that
it's just sad to me. It's sad to me that the people aren't doing anything about it. You rather interview Kara Cornelius, I just,
Oh Lord, yeah.
versus I'd rather interview Brett's family or one of the roommates, and maybe even just for the mere fact of like, hey, he was a really good dude. Like give him some type of, what I mean? It just,
How did he get there? How did he even get to that point in that state of mind?
yeah.
So to
Where was
kind
he
of just
earlier in the
blow,
day?
yeah,
Where was he at? What's his phone activity like? Did he get into a
well,
fight with his roommate? Was it over you didn't bring me sugar and cream for my coffee that you got from Starbucks? Like, I don't.
now I'll say, like, there was an instance with my brother where he was absolutely tore up about it. I mean, beside himself. He actually, when he moved to South Carolina, he had this bedroom, and he actually preferred it. It must have been you know, comfortable for him, I guess. But he had this bedroom that had no windows. Okay. And he like loved it because now this is coming from like a kid that would tell you about how they had to like dig holes and like sleep in holes. And
So
he's
he had
very,
PTSD.
yeah. And so he like has this bedroom, had no windows. He's like, that's the only way I can sleep is total darkness. So we're like,
Mhm.
okay. Well, the one day he calls me and he's out beside himself at like 5 o'clock in the morning because his girlfriend had slept over, and he woke up at some point, and I guess like was choking her, and she like was like she got him out of it, and like but he snapped right into it and was like back into it, was like holy shit, and it was beside himself, scared himself to death, scared her. I mean, she understood, but it was a very brief, but he was able to um come out of it. It wasn't a 10-hour long, she ran out the door and but
Yeah.
that stuff does happen. And I just feel like, and it's a big apartment complex. So you got a lot of people out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Oh,
just
yeah.
don't understand, even if
Or
you
how about
like,
the people coming home? How about like if I was out at like, I don't know, the grocery store, and here I am driving up and I'm trying to come home, and they're like, no, it's blocked off. You can't go. There's somebody in there with a gun, right?
right,
But you know how people are with social media and like their phones and stuff. You're telling me nobody has video of this? You're telling me nobody's
no,
standing outside this building or
right,
recording this, taking pictures of this?
right.
Where is any of that? Where's any damn civilian that lived in that building to not be like 99.9% of America and other countries when they're like, yeah, I'm recording this. Oh my God. Like this is, this is what you do. This is what everybody does.
They were literally in like moment by moment, they were literally talking about it on Reddit.
It
So
just, especially after what just happened. Like this isn't like relate to the game because it was in the middle of the night. And this is a month after there's a nationwide manhunt
mhm. I
with
don't understand.
roommates. People, now we got some guy that threatened to kill his room and never like, holy shit.
And
Um,
not for nothing, but I've never been able to figure out why they would wait until December 23rd to start pulling any type of warrants on him. And again, my thing is when you were pulling all of those warrants with everybody's Tinder and everybody's
mhm.
Facebooks and Snapchats and Venmos and everything else, eBay and Walmart, when you were pulling all of that shit, if you would have gotten anything back that was Brian Kohberger specifically, you'd have been pulling warrants sooner than you decided to pull his AT&T historical cell data on December 23rd, right?
Yeah, the
So
historical, yeah.
so let's fill in the blanks a little bit. This whole thing happened on December 14th. I can get behind that a lot easier. Let's say whatever was said in all of those hours led them to be a little bit more suspicious about him, and then it's what, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 9 days. I did count on my fingers.
Did you?
Yeah, 9 days. If we would have went into the next month, you could forget it because I still am 33 years old and I don't know how many months have 31 days and how many have 30. But 9 days later, and you've maybe checked the school, maybe then talked to the DMV and found out when he changed his plate, yada yada. And then on the 23rd, you were like, oh shit. And someone was like, hey, we pulled that feller over and we have his phone number, so let's try to track him that way. And then you did. I can get behind that. I can't get behind, oh, we were super suspicious about him on November 29th, but nobody decided to go talk to him. We don't know why, though, because just because he drives his car doesn't mean that he killed somebody. So, and at that point, if they would have found out through all the Brent stuff, that could also be why they didn't bring him in to talk to him, because he was already gone.
100. I mean,
What?
I agree.
I have to go to bed, so like don't if I'm talking crazy, just
no. I'm agreeing. I'm saying that I've been saying since day one. How do you get to Brian Kohberger? You don't get to him because you were doing process of elimination. Okay,
right.
You don't get to him that quickly. You could eventually get to him, but you would have to question him then. And then based off of what he said to you, if something didn't vibe right, or you like followed up and you're like, so they say that you did talk to him. He tells you, well, yeah, I was the DoorDash. I DoorDashed over there.
Right.
I told those people that I was the DoorDash person.
Mm-hmm.
Because what if in fact he was the DoorDash person, but he would like be there and leaving, right? So he's like, yeah, I was there and then I left. It's not me. So then he's wondering, he's like, what the hell? Why? So if that would have been anything being said like that, what, they didn't believe him because did he stay there longer? Oh, and then I realized that I knew them. So I was talking to them for like a little bit.
Right.
When I saw that it was Xana, I was like, oh my God, she was my waitress always at that Mad Greek restaurant or whatever the hell. So I was bullshitting with her for a minute because I recognized her, and then I left. What if he was? What if he said that? What if that says? What if it's? He's like, what? Yeah, when at 11:29, when they came across that, it was a different officer that I had talked to. So like, let's say I never talked to Payne when I told them that I was the person. Okay, so when they're like, oh my God, look at what comes up. Oh, we've already talked to him. He's the DoorDash person. But do you see what I'm saying? Like if he was, he would have to say it like that though. Like, yeah, I told them I was there. I DoorDashed. I was there. Okay, well,
after arrest.
Why were you there for 20 minutes? Well, because I was talking to, I recognized her.
Well,
and I was talking to her.
And if they were drunk, if Xana was drunk coming back from the party, I'm just trying to think of me, and I talk a lot. I talk a lot just all the time anyway, so it's kind of hard to escape a conversation with me. And apparently Brian Kohberger was chatty also. So if she was drunk and chatty, and he's chatty, and she was like, oh, like, come in, like, I'll give you a tip with money, and then like went to go get money, and then she's like standing there just jibber jabbering for 15 minutes or whatever, and then he leaves.
Now that I thought about it, and I was like, wait a second though, but his phone wasn't on. So then they were like, well, why wasn't it pinging? He's like, oh, that's not the phone I used to DoorDash with. You get what I'm saying?
I use my door dashing phone for that, and then I use my TA phone for when I'm at the
but I think the bottom line for me is I don't understand when the police come forward and they say we want to talk to, because there's a big secret. I was like, they did not want it out there. So Brian Kohberger has no idea they're looking for a white Elantra until whatever the 7th, right?
Right.
So when they find his car, it's not out there. Like, you can't be like, well, why didn't you come forward? What do you mean, why didn't I come forward? Why didn't know that you guys were looking for a white Elantra? You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Okay, so great. So he doesn't know that yet. So to go to him on 11/29 when you find his vehicle, hey, how do we approach this guy that we want to talk to him? He has a white Elantra. Well, how are you doing it before? Oh, that's right. You know what I'm saying?
How'd you do it with 22,000 people? Like, what'd you say?
Yeah, like, so, but they waited so long. So then when they do it on the 7th, everybody knows that they're looking for this. Well, why are you making it only this date to this date, or this year to this year? Because then Brian can't come forward because he's like, I have a 2015. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you're giving him an out. But my question would be is why wouldn't you, if you're saying you want to talk to the person, that's what they were saying. Law enforcement came out, says we want to talk to the persons or persons inside that vehicle. So you would think when you came across these vehicles, you would say, hey,
We want to talk to these people that
yeah,
own
hey,
it.
oh my gosh, hey, we pulled all the permits. You have a white Elantra. What's up? Hey, do you care if we ask you a couple questions? No, get the fuck out of here. Leave. Come back with a
Right.
warrant. Come and it'd be like, what? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or come on, you guys are so creative. Like you guys are the police. We got the FBI. We got the,
Right.
the Idaho State Police. We got local. We got everything. You're telling me that you wouldn't go and be able to talk to a PhD student that's in the criminology program and
Right.
act like you want to talk to like his boss? Hey, we
Right.
got this, high profile. I want to pick your brain about something.
Mm-hmm.
Do that way, and then come across. Oh, hey, yeah, and see, hey, well, do you know anybody that could possibly fit this profile that you are teaching? I mean, but,
I mean, like everybody knew about it, right? So everybody knew about the murders. So let's just say, so on November 29th, you're told that Brian has a white Hyundai Elantra. Okay, fine. You don't have to tell him about the bushy eyebrows, but you'd be able to get up close and personal in real life and look him in the eyes and make sure his eyebrows are as bushy as she says. So you go and you talk to this person. You say, listen, we haven't put this out publicly yet, obviously, because it's not anything to be too concerned about. But we're going through the vehicles that were driving around. There were a lot of people around. There were a lot of people walking. We're just following up with everybody. Did you were you there? And if you were, did you see anybody else? Did you notice any other vehicles that maybe we've been missing? Anybody acting weird? Here's the thing. There was no reason to be concerned about scaring him simply because you found out that he drove a white Elantra. Okay,
I
that's
agree.
silly.
100.
That
That
is
is
so silly.
that is such bullshit if I've ever heard it before.
Right. So, and again,
Because you want to get in that car as soon as possible.
right. So
That
but
car
then,
is supposed to be, like you said, in your probable cause. Like, the car has everything you could possibly need in it. Like,
but you
get
didn't know that yet. You know what I mean? Like
no, but
there
just
was.
the way the crime scene is this guy has to be covered in blood, and
Mhm.
then you're saying that this car sped away. He must have ran in, got in this car really quick. He wasn't like he was standing out next to the car, stripping and I don't know, doing whatever. Because this happened. There's only so much time. So he would have
Yeah.
like ran to the car, got in it, and then sped away. So the blood would be in there.
Yeah, but then you're cutting the time of the. So if you're gonna say that he piddled around beside the car and changed his clothes
Exactly.
or whatever, got naked, you're taking more time away from how much time it took to kill them. So that can't be.
That's why I'm
And
saying he didn't do it like that. That's why there should be a lot of blood in that car.
right,
So
unless he.
you should want to get in that car as soon as possible.
I mean, let's be real. Like he literally was anybody ever going to pick up the trash out back? Like I just feel like what if the clothes was in the trash bag? Like what if he like took it off on the way out the door and just like threw it in the trash bag? Them trash bags sat back there the entire
They're
time.
still there.
That is the most absurd thing I have ever seen. And then like I'm just thinking, so you don't know that he's killed somebody, right? To be honest, I feel like the best opportunity to go speak to him would have been prior to announcing to the whole world that that's the car you were looking for. So again, you just go and you say, we saw people walking around, even the police were there. And, we checked the camera footage on the police because he would know that the police were there. The police were there 250 feet from the crime scene for like an hour, almost an hour.
Yeah.
So if they would have went to him and been like, we saw this or whatever, and he'd be like, oh no, I wasn't there. Oh, okay. So when you then pulled his phone number later on in the next month, you'd be like, oh, this motherfucker lied. That would then make me suspicious. But you never even went to talk to him. You can't say that it's suspicious that he didn't come forward because you specifically asked for a 2011 to 2013. He
All
does
day.
not drive such a vehicle. So
Yep.
I'm not gonna be like, hey, FBI, my car is not within those years that you're looking for, but let me put a spotlight on myself and tell you that I drive a car that's outside those years. That is dumb. That's just as dumb as sending your DNA to 23andMe. Don't do that either. So like, but if he was there and he knows that's his car, them not coming to talk to him would have put me on edge. I would have been like, now I know that they know that there was a white Elantra in that area. Why is no one coming and asking me about it? Because I drive one.
Right.
I'm not going to volunteer myself, but I'm going to be like, there's no way they don't know at this point that I drive a white Hyundai Elantra.
I'm trying to think how you could do this. What if you were, okay, say that you're the cop and you interview me and I'm Brian and you're like, hey, yeah, we came across, you have a white Elantra. Like, we don't want to tell, but then I would have to tell you that, oh yeah, we saw white Elantras that were leaving the scene. So we're just going around and seeing whoever has white Elantras on both campuses. And so you say that to me and I'm like, wait, what is this about? Right? I'd have to ask that unless you tell me what it's about, right? But that's why you're saying you're coming to me. Let's just say you say that. And I'm like, I already talked to somebody about, are you talking about the homicides on Moscow? I already talked to somebody about this. Oh,
were
you
you going to
did?
say you were the DoorDash driver?
Yeah. I already
pulling the search warrant right now, like tomorrow.
Yeah. So I say that, but they're like, okay, it adds up. Like there was a there was a DoorDash. So think about this. So there was a DoorDash and I'm telling you, I was that person. Okay. And they say, okay, well, yeah, that car was there. I think what's going to come out is, so this is a possibility. Well, why would you have been there that long if you're door dashing? Well, because I knew the girl when she opened up the door. It was Xana. She's my waitress at the Mad Greek. So we were talking, and then she invited me in, and then I left.
He could have DoorDashed there multiple times. Like if he was the DoorDasher, he could have DoorDashed there multiple times.
So, but I'm just saying, like, if he was to say this, if he would have said this off the rip, then now law enforcement's like, or if they came across him, let's say like he said this off the rip and they come across, oh God, yeah, he drives the white Elantra, but that would have already come out. You know what I mean? Like if I'm telling you that I was a DoorDasher, I was driving my car. I have a white Elantra.
You mean since he's been arrested?
No. I'm saying like,
if they would have talked to him back when if he
would have come forward and said, hey, I'm the DoorDash person. Okay.
Right.
I'm the DoorDash person. Hey, I DoorDashed the night I saw this. I DoorDashed. I have to look at my app here. This is what time I was there, type of thing. Okay. I still would have to go back and see how he could possibly do all of that. He would have to create an account of on both ends and act like he lived at 1122 King. But I could go and look at that. But let's just say that he would have come forward and said, yeah, I'm the DoorDash guy. Okay. So they're like, oh, okay. So he does that early on. Then they come across and they were pulling all the stuff and that, hey, oh wait, his name popped up again. And something flagged it because they're like, oh shit. PA doesn't have a back or a front plate, you know what I mean? Whatever. So it was
it's still hard to get to Brian Kohberger.
100%.
You're trying so hard. I could see it like in your.
Well, I'm trying to say that could he have ever said that he was the DoorDash guy? And then when you come back and you want to, that's why he's saying, I'm going to exonerate myself. This has got to be a huge misunderstanding.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But I already said I was there. Well, yeah, but no DoorDash takes, 20 minutes to do.
Consider this.
But that's the only thing that I could think of to like how you could have gotten him if nobody. I'm just anybody that wants to say, "Oh, Lana, you're just trying to get Brian Kohberger off." No, I'm actually just trying to explain this, somehow try to make sense as to why you would never go and talk to Brian Kohberger when you found his car.
Right.
How the hell? Why would you never talk to him? And then I hear people say, "Well." I hear FBI agents saying, and yeah, I don't want to scare him off. He didn't. Why would he be scared off? He doesn't even know that you're looking for a white Elantra yet. So you just start like following him around. So that's why my whole thing was, well, did you do that with every white Elantra that was
correct?
Were you doing the same thing? And that's what I'm saying. This would have taken so much longer. Could you have gotten to Brian Kohberger? Yes. That quickly? No fucking way. You were on him way too soon to do it the way you're talking about doing it. And that you took all these cameras and you put them all together. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh,
you could
but yeah,
you could do that, but it's going to take you so long to do that. That doesn't
what are these 300 people that they interviewed? Who are these people? Because you have the only interview that we know about is the one that they mentioned in the PCA, and that was Jack, right? So you have the private party driver that's like, oh, I realized, a couple days later that like I drove them home. So I went and I reached out to them and I told them that I was their driver. And they were like, oh, we already knew. Okay. So why didn't you go talk to him? What is this whole like anybody that was in the area, instead of reaching out to these people, the other one was the guy at the food truck, the bigger guy, Joe. He was like, oh, I saw it in the news. And I was like, oh shit. Like I saw those girls at the food truck. So I reached out to the police department. And it's like, who are you reaching out to if not the people? So the guy that drove them home, when he called, you already knew about it, but hadn't reached out to him. That's bizarre.
Now this is what tells me they would have done to get to Brian Kohberger. If I come to you or you're all on my ass about something that you came across in your investigation, okay? And you're like, whatever you're saying to me. And I'm like, okay, yes, this is, it's going to sound so fucked up, but this is what happened. And, blah, blah, blah. But you're not going to be able to use me because I'm an informant for, like, let's say the FBI, or I'm an informant for this, or, you're going to take us down with this. So you're going to have to get to this person a different way. But here's who did it. But you're going to have to get creative to go get him
without using me.
Without using me.
Even in court.
Even in court.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be sticky as hell. It would make sense of why this is so ridiculously spaced out.
That's what I think it is. But I think that this person that would be this informant type thing it's very, very complicated. And then you have to ask yourself, how do you know this? How do you know it? You know what I'm saying? Like, how would you know this? Oh, well, I just, I'm part of Sigma Chi and we were dealing drugs. And so that's, but that's
it could be an undercover So let's say they were doing some kind of undercover at the universities, some kind of big multi-year, say they have someone that's been undercover for a year in dealing with drugs or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that person could know some things, but it would blow an entire other operation if you were to come. But then I have to question if they were doing all of this in secret. And this is why I really truly don't think everybody keeps talking about this. Oh, they're going to wait till it's like close to the time of the hearing and then they're going to indict him. And I'm like, no, they're not, because if they was going to go to a grand jury,
they got shit.
If they were going to, well, they probably could have got it with a grand jury, right? Just them running their mouths. Like, that's really how it works. There's no, you're only hearing what I want you to hear and what I have to say. So I'm going to give you all this stuff that looks really bad and no one's arguing with me. So you're just going to only hear my part, my version. So.
And usually a lot more time goes by when you have to go to a grand jury.
Yeah. If they didn't want to scare him and they didn't want him to know they were onto him and they didn't want to interview him because they didn't want him to know that they were, looking at him at all, then why? And if they were planning on eventually going to a grand jury, why wouldn't they have just did that in the first place? Why would they have even bothered to, do all the search warrant and then like follow him all the way across the country and go and arrest? Like, I just feel like if you were going to go to a grand jury and just do an indictment, you would have just did that. You would have just did that from the very minute you had enough.
Why is it that the only probable cause affidavit that had anything to do with the DNA on the sheet, the touch DNA, why was it Payne that filled that out and gave it to Megan to sign after PA had already issued a search warrant based on Payne's probable cause affidavit that did not have the DNA in it?
Right.
Who uses 3 different probable cause affidavit versions to do something on the same day with 3 different departments, 3 different counties, 3 different states. What in the fuck are you all doing?
Well,
that you need to do all that shit.
and then
Get
copy
the
and
fuck
paste
out of
90%
here.
of the PCA. You might like what? So, but
That stuff pisses me off.
and here's the thing. So Washington, right? They had
He's so
this
guilty. It shouldn't be this hard.
right. I mean, yeah.
If he's
Like,
this monster,
and he was so
go get
sloppy.
him.
There's all
Yeah,
this
he's so
evidence.
sloppy. There's all, yeah.
But they had this woman write up that search warrant in Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had Blaker write
They used
his PCA with no mention of the DNA, right? But then she added in that supplemental disclosure, and all that was number 1 and number 2. Number 1 is that and they actually specify that on November 13th they find the sheath, okay, which is not in the other ones.
You saw Blaker say that he was told by ISP.
Well, that supplemental disclosure is from ISP. It's from Talbot. It's from the guy. It's from Talbot.
Yeah, but in Blaker's, yeah, in his Exhibit A, he says that
he was told
when he walked through the house, he didn't see it. Okay, it says it in his. He's like, I walked through the house. I was told later that ISP came across a tan leather sheath.
Right.
So
he was walking with pain, like they were like crossed arms, like
the way that they
together.
The way that they do it, the way that they say it though, is it's like each one of them says that they walked through with Officer Smith. So did you walk through with Officer Smith together, or how many times is Officer Smith walking each and every person separately through when you guys arrived at the same time? Because that's what it says. We arrived at the same time at 4:00.
Yeah, it says we arrived. He walked us through. So it's.
But it doesn't say us. It says me.
You know what else? You know how they say they later reviewed Officer, I think, Nunez's body cam footage?
I can't. Yes, about the dog.
Yeah, and found the dog. And I thought, why the fuck wouldn't he just say that while they were there together? Why wouldn't he just say, oh, sir, by the way, there was a dog here. And I found it in this empty room. Like, why did you
because
have to
nobody could
footage?
Remember?
Why? It just happened.
I can't wait to see who did the log, the crime scene log. I want to know who was in charge of manning the crime scene log. I cannot wait to see who was appointed, because it's got to be one of those initial people to be, okay, you're going to man the crime scene login. So who's ever here, you have to get their name, and they have to get their time that they're here and the time that they leave. Right. I cannot wait to see that. That will be 100%. Like, we
don't have to elaborate on this because I feel like it's a conversation for another day. But did you happen to look at the two, at Nunez and Smith? Like, do you know anything about those two boys?
Yes, I know about them. You mean like, what do you want to know about them? I could tell you a lot about them.
I just mean like,
how deep do you want me to go?
No, I just mean, I think it's enough to just say, just in terms of their experience. And apart from
they're from Boise.
Well, just stop. Apart from that, there's like
White
they
Ave.
Don't ever have these crimes, but these two are like brand new. You know what I mean? They're brand new.
Yeah, they're young. Okay.
So, and they like just turned police officers. So they've spent 2 years prior just dealing with the normal everyday, there's some weird shit that goes on around there. Like, if you've gone back through the call logs, there's weird shit that goes on, and people call 911 for the craziest reasons, but never murders.
Just to see somebody at a car foaming at the mouth, nothing. I mean, it's wild. It's wild.
I just wonder what was done. I wonder what was done, and I wonder if you were so. Let's say he forgot to mention. So we don't know that Nunez walked around there with them, right? He could have been there, and then once other people responded, he could have left. He could have been like, this is too much. I can't. I literally can't be here for this. And that's why they reviewed his body cam footage later. And that's why he didn't tell them about the dog. You know what I mean? So my question is what else happened.
I think it could also be like they were probably in shock a little bit, like holy
Right.
shit, like you know what I mean, like
That's what
and
I
then you're
mean.
like,
What else happened?
wait,
They
where
probably
was the
don't know.
dog? I don't know where was like
Kaylee's room.
well, but no, I'm saying I know that, but I'm saying like those guys are probably just like where'd
Right.
this dog, where'd this dog come from in the house, and they want to be like specific with it. Okay, well, we just reviewed the body cam just to be, because clearly when they went and asked the kid, he didn't know.
Right. And
which should
well,
just tell you a
even
lot about what the reports are going to look like.
I know it, just like most of the things that they release, the press releases say
I
that
don't even need the reports though. Give me the body cam. I'll tell you everything that happened.
exactly that. The night of the incident, they found a dog, and
Mhm.
like it kept getting repeated through and I'm like, is no one reading these? Like to be
Yeah.
like, wait, that makes no sense. Let's change it. But as for the DoorDash and stuff, like I don't, and I could tell you something right now that might blow your mind. Not blow your mind, but it's gonna confuse you again. It's gonna spiral you. There's been times where I've like thought of something, I've gone completely out of control. I'll like spiral out of here and you won't see me for days. 4:00 in the morning is not normal for a DoorDash, right? Like
yeah, that's well
in a college town,
in
maybe.
a college town, but to say that happened, if they were home at 2:00 and everybody was home and they were winding down from their night and it wasn't like crazy, who waits 2 hours to?
Right.
Like if you've been drinking all night, you want to get like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like you would just think that if you're coming over from the Sigma Chi house and you're hungry because you just had been drinking and you're like got the munchies or you're smoking weed and you got the munchies, I think I asked this. Well, then we had sex, and so then we ordered our food after we had sex, and well, okay, great, all of that's awesome. But for it to arrive at 4, I'm sorry, I am not on this path of that. It was pre-ordered at 2:45, and then it took them. I'm
Right.
sorry, but that's just wild.
You would have to schedule it for like 4. Why would you do that? Why would you?
In order for the Jack in the Box to be the delivery, you have to have all DoorDashes in by 2:45.
Right.
And no, I don't think that happened. And I think that if it would have, I don't think that it doesn't get there at 4:00 in the morning. There's no fucking way it could start 4. Otherwise, you would not be ordering DoorDash. You'd be like pissed.
I'm just thinking, like, what if? So we had that taxi driver or whatever it was that was like, there's a lot of drugs in the area. I usually don't pull like all the way up to the houses or park in any spot. Like, so back where I used to live, like where I grew up, like everybody knew, like when you were down there, you don't like put your car in park and like sit there and wait. Like you keep it in drive and like you put your foot on the brake just in case something happens, you could peel off. And so this taxi driver, when he was like, I don't ever like park or pull up to house, I'm like, man, I get it. I get that. So, but like, what if we don't know if the DoorDash driver was a boy or a girl, right?
Right.
So if it was a girl, and first of all, I wouldn't take my ass out of the bed at 4:00 in the morning to go deliver one delivery. So whoever the DoorDash driver was, I would imagine there'd be more than one. Right.
Yep.
So for it to even be worth it. So it's like, okay, well, what if it's a girl trying to get money or whatever, and she says to her friend Brian, can you go with me? And he's like, well, yeah, I guess so. Like I'm up all night anyway. I barely ever sleep. So and if you remember, it always said, so in that affidavit, it says that he had pinged there like at least 12 times in the months prior, and they were
off the tower.
Yeah, it was always late at night, early morning hours. So for me, if his car's seen or his phone is pinging in that area late at night into the early morning hours, that's not odd to me. That's the normal routine. If he's always going there at the same times, and that night he goes there at the same times, it would be something that was still routine. If it was out of routine,
especially if you're having booty calls. I mean, no offense, but
right. Or
like and you don't want to do that on your campus because you're a TA, so you know what I mean? Like, and if you're using a Tinder app and you're hooking up with people, like
if they would have told me that he was always there, like never past like 7 o'clock. And then all of a sudden he was there at 3 in the morning. Then I'd be like, oh, that's weird. But like,
yeah, that's consistent. That's consistent with his pattern of behavior.
That's the word that's exactly the phrase I was trying to pull out of my face. But
yeah, his pattern of behavior. Yep.
Yeah.
And then you would look at it, does his phone ever go off? But every time he it pings 12 times,
and not just this one night where a murder happens. So, but I'm thinking like, okay, so if it's a girl and they're like, hey, Brian, like, I make more money. I make a lot more money if I'm delivering when everybody's drunk and they tip me really well. Okay. Everybody says that. I really doubt Brian's getting, but we don't know. We do not know how Brian is. We have not been able to observe him.
This is my answer to that. Shit, do you see those catfishing on there? Here, let me put up this picture of me. You know what I mean? Then you see that person, you're like, the fuck out of here.
Well, that and like
oh god.
First of all, there's somebody for everybody. Okay?
Yeah, and you said that you're a PhD student and he takes like a good looking, take your best picture. What do you think he's putting on some
let's be real.
You just lie on those things, like whatever.
The opinions that we have of him are literally all we know about him is that he's been arrested because he's suspected to have murdered 4 children in their house. So like that is our
because he has a white Elantra.
Right. So that's why we think
what if Brian doesn't have a white Elantra?
Yeah, we fill in these blanks like, oh, he's so creepy and he's, his eyes, he looks like a murderer. Because you've seen him in handcuffs and a jumpsuit. Like, that's why he looks like a murderer. You've been told that he is. So, like, I think that to assume that, like, none of the girls around there would ever talk to, like, we don't know that. That's cutting out.
Wouldn't your parents be proud of you if you were a PhD student? Isn't that like.
Sure.
Yeah, so to say, oh my God, he was a PhD student in criminology.
He's the audacity. Yeah, it's like so suspicious.
I'm like, wow.
Immediately, it's like, oh, he must have done that because he knew that one day he was going to be a murderer. He had it in his body, and he was like, I need to go find out as much as I can. Yeah, I'm tired of hearing that too. I just feel like me personally, I have not. There's no social media. I've heard him only say yes like 4 or 5 times in court. I've not even heard him speak. I can't see any of his posts.
Ann Taylor could have bolted and she probably could have got away with it, and been like, yep, conflict of interest, I'm out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She didn't. She didn't.
Like, I don't know. And so, but I keep getting off. So let's pretend that the DoorDash driver is a girl. And she's like, I make way more money at night, right? Where everybody's drunk and they're tipping really well. Brian, will you come with me, please? Because to make sure I'm safe. What if, and it's just big what if they get there, all those cars are out front and she's like, I'm like nervous. I don't want to go in there. There's a whole bunch of people in there, yada, yada. And he's like, I'll just go do it. I'll just go bring it in. If something happened or he was a murderer and he was like, I'm going to go in and this is what I'm going to do. Like, let's just say that's what he was thinking. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do this because I'm, we're whatever the case may be. Is it possible that as he was, because if you look at the before, so we're talking about patterns of behavior. If you're looking prior to the murders, it's like willy-nilly, like driving around, making turns, 3-point turns, like stopping and going.
Let's be all over every camera possible.
Correct. Like looking for stuff. Like it really does look like someone looking for a house. I could like picture them turning the radio all the way down, trying to find the house number to whatever it is they're going to. Because if you look up 1122 King Road, like it doesn't necessarily on everybody's phone come up as that house. So they could have had a hard time. She's like, oh shit, there's like, a big ass Jeep and a Range Rover. I don't know what kind of people are in there. Like, there's parties here all the time. You go in, whether he knew what he was going to do or something happened, who the hell knows? But let's just say he comes out, whatever, whoever this other person is, like, holy shit, and like saw something, or he was carrying a knife and they were like, then they peeled out. Like, maybe he wasn't even like in the car when it peeled off. Maybe he wasn't even in the car. Maybe he was in the car to get there, but maybe he got left. Why does it say that the murders could have happened between 4 and 4:25 if they were still in the car at 4:04 and the car was entirely gone by 4:20?
Yeah, and I think that they're only giving themselves a cushion for law enforcement because of basically if the camera, if that if the camera that got everything, if it
Was
was off
off.
like a couple, yeah, if it was off like a couple minutes, to give yourself like that leeway. But because I agree with that, in terms of like, well, but why can't the murder happen at 3:29?
Why can't it? And let me ask you this: what
Because
proof
I
of
think
life
I
do you
think I think
have?
that it could have very
Right.
they're,
What
they're not
proof of
using their
life?
phones anymore at 2:52.
Right.
They're not
Right.
using their phones anymore.
Right.
And you're going to sit here and tell me they both fell asleep at the same time?
Right.
They were just
No.
actively calling and calling, calling. Both of them are calling
No.
Jack D. And then nothing after
No.
2:52. Both of them, nothing.
And you don't have, like I said, we were just talking about this
Oh,
the other
because they
day.
fell asleep, Lana, or because they're
No.
dead.
No. Even in the oh my God, even in the PCA, like
That's what I would be saying. I'd be saying, dude, if I'm Ann Taylor, I'm hardcore looking at the fact that the time that those two girls
100%.
upstairs were murdered, my client was not even there. You have them
Or
in the white Elantra at 3:29 arriving. Those girls did not make another. That's why they're not using the victims' phones to do
yes,
this time of crime, because at
doesn't
2:52,
match.
none of them are using their phones anymore. So why can't the killer or killers have killed upstairs at that time? And then why couldn't
Brian
the
have DoorDashed, and the killer
yep,
was
and
still
so
upstairs.
yep. And then okay, well then what? They just waited until X amount of time? No, just
Yeah.
because Xana received a DoorDash does not mean that she ate it. I want to see what's in their body. I want to see what's in their stomach.
Yeah. And
Where's this food? Where was it consumed? Where there has to be in my opinion, if you're banking so heavily on Dylan's statement, but yeah, I thought Dylan was downstairs in the basement. Oh, but we only said that to protect her.
right.
Well, but if Brian didn't see her, so you're saying Brian saw her, let her live. Oh yeah, because he didn't have enough time. He had to get out of there.
Why?
What?
Why would he have had to get out of
He
there?
doesn't need
Cops
to get
were
out of there,
coming.
especially if he kills her. Who's calling 911 then?
Right. Exactly.
What is where do people I'm like, where's this logic is just out the window. Oh no, that's because you're thinking logically. He's not. No, he seemed like a crazy person, which tells me even more so if I see you, I'm gonna just kill you
right.
because I'm off my rocker.
to
I'm not gonna be like, all right, let's see you call the police on me now. Like,
right.
or you better not call anybody or I'm gonna come back here and kill you. What? No, you're just
Much of this is like
this
a
is
lot of
wild.
this. Yeah, a lot of this is people picking, and I could see it happen, and like I don't blame people. Like a lot of this is picking certain parts of stories to be able to make it fit. So like for instance, like Brian's either crazy and he wasn't thinking logically at all, or he was thinking perfectly logically. He wasn't running out of the house, right? There was no panic. He wasn't like, which is also weird that he would speed away. Like, why wouldn't he run out of the house and then speed away? You don't just casually walk back through the house and then
And then where
decide
was
to
the
bolt it.
knife? Because they didn't have the sheath, so it's not like he put it away. So where's the knife? It's in his hand, right? And
Right.
it's pattern of behavior to what do you think he just killed people down on the first or the second floor when he's coming around that turn? What do you think he did with the knife? You think he was just like holding it down? I mean, where do you think the knife was?
Well, then people say, well, he must have had it in his hoodie pocket. Well, who said he was wearing a hoodie? For all we know, he was wearing one of those things from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, those green,
I think
if
that
you
when
ever
he would have
seen-
got to his car, he would have realized that he didn't have the sheath.
But then they're like, no, they wouldn't. No, he wouldn't, because he was in like a state of whatever. He was like out of his mind and he had no clue until the next morning. And he was like, hey, shit, I'm going to go back there and go get it. But then decided not to, but also didn't ping on the way there.
Yeah,
Or
and then he goes
did
back
ping,
there
but
the
he
next
wasn't on
morning to
camera.
ping.
Yeah,
Because he wants to go
bizarre.
back to the scene. Okay, then he must have been real confused when he gets back to that scene and it's Ghost Town at 9 a.m.
And he's like, I left that girl alive like 5 hours ago. She still hasn't called the police.
Yeah, or like any of them. And just anybody that stalks out that house, like you're just like
Yeah, no.
For a premeditated kill, that's like
Yeah,
that
no.
house is bumping 24/7, and I don't understand how, and nobody has a problem with this. The people that get killed are the ones that are in rooms with other people, but the people that live
Are
are in
alone.
rooms by themselves.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, you're right.
Come
That is weird.
on, man.
And
Like,
what I found interesting when we're talking about like their proof of life, right? The only proof of life in that PCA was when Dylan said that she heard who she thought was Kaylee say, "Someone's here." And they immediately dismissed it and were like, it was probably Xana. Well,
I'd have a
have you
field day with
ever
that.
heard Kaylee or Xana speak? Like, how would you know above her roommate who hears her all day, every day, and would know her voice? So I
And why
found
is
that
it such
odd.
a problem that it would be Kaylee? Think about that,
Unless
though.
you know Kaylee's dead.
Uh,
And it couldn't have been her.
But is it problematic because of the order of death? Like, think about it. Why would Payne feel the need to write that in the PCA to be able to arrest Brian Kohberger? Why would it matter who she heard, like what voice it was? Oh,
Because
but it could have been this, or what we realize is that this was still operated, and it's like, well, because Kaylee's phone never moved again after 252 is what I think.
I think that they're fully aware that there is no activity. And like you said, there's no way that they both passed out drunk or fell asleep at the same exact time after calling the same exact person, right? So
100%.
if you don't have any proof of life from their phones after that, and you don't have Brian Kohberger even in the area where he disappears to where you think that you can make this time for, right? Because the only stretch of time where you can't see him anywhere is from 4:04 to 4:20. Other than that, his sightings on camera are too close together. So you can't say that they were killed prior to 4:04. If you think that this white Elantra, does that make any sense? Like, if those girls were dead at any time between 3 and 4 a.m., then it wasn't Brian Kohberger, okay? If that's who you saw on the
Yeah,
camera.
you're living and dying right now with Brian Kohberger. He's the white Elantra. He didn't go there any other way. So you're
So
living and dying by that white car.
that's why you're not using the victim's phones. Because the
100.
victim's phone is going to contradict what you're trying to say. That's why you're using the survivors, which I don't know what you could have possibly found on their phones that would be a better indicator to you that people died, other than the ones that were using their phone repeatedly and then stopped using them.
Yeah, and then I think that the other thing would be is, okay, so let's say that you don't want to use Xana or Kaylee's because, well, we believe that they fell asleep. Okay. Okay, so then what about Ethan and Xana? So why aren't their phones good enough to use in the time of death
Right.
or time of crime, rather? Why can't you use their phones?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like
we don't know anything about Ethan's phone, but at least Xana, they're saying that she was on TikTok and that she received a DoorDash. So I'm trying to think.
Well, but in the PCA, they say that they are using just Bethany and Dylan's phone dumps and Dylan's statements to come up with the 4 to 4:25
Yeah,
time.
that's weird. That's weird. Unless
I've never heard of any type of case. Think about this. You're not using any of the victim's cell phone devices to tell you the time of crime, or that would follow in suit with that. And at first I thought maybe it's because they didn't have their phones, so they didn't know it. You know what I mean? Like if the killer took their phones.
Yeah, but they did.
But yeah, but then, I mean.
Well, oh, you know what? I bet you I can account for probably Kaylee's.
It's just, no. We just watched the Murdoch trial, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we saw, so this is my thing. If it's Dylan, you're going to go by Dylan's phone. Okay. So Dylan was up and down 3 different times, right? Opened up the final door, saw him. Great. Okay. I want to know what Dylan did with her phone the remaining time until 911 was called.
Oh, 100%.
Because wait, you're telling me I can know when you do this now?
Yeah.
My phone does this. How about how many steps did Dylan take at any point? Because every time a kid goes anywhere, you grab your phone.
Oh yeah.
I go to the bathroom, I pick up my, it's my
Yeah.
phone. It goes wherever with you. Like
Right.
it's with you. It's always with you, especially a kid like that. So when Dylan would have woken up in the morning, what if it comes back that Dylan had taken between, let's say, 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. 272 steps, and she went up 3 sets of flights. Because
That'd be bad.
Now, when you see that, how are you going to explain that? Well,
You
yeah, because
can't.
I went downstairs. Because remember, no, in the PCA, they said
Originally.
Dylan originally.
Yeah.
I think they're ready to talk. I think that they're ready for that. Dylan originally went back to sleep, but then when she woke up, she went down. Like I think
To
if
Bethany.
if she has any type of movement with her phone in these steps, and there's only, I mean, you're going to have to account for that. And then same thing with Bethany, and I think that if we learned anything from that trial, if they have steps on their phone between the time that they said they went to sleep and before they called 911, who wouldn't have a problem with that? Where were you walking to? Were you in your room, Dylan, walking in circles for 272 steps? That place is not that big on the, I mean, in order to go down the stairs to where Bethany would have been, you have to pass. You would have seen whose ever body is laying in the middle of the.
Yeah.
So it just, I don't know if they're ready to talk about that, but I feel like they give themselves a little out there when they're talking about originally. So are they ready to talk about some steps that would have been taken at certain times throughout it? And then she's like, well, yeah, that's because that's when I went downstairs to go sleep downstairs with Bethany. Oh, but I thought her door was locked. I thought she locked her bedroom door. Well, yeah, I banged on it and I woke her up. Well, then she better have some steps. Well, no, she just stayed. I mean, her phone was on her nightstand, so there's no steps there.
Yeah, but
you get what I'm. It's just gonna be
yeah.
so interesting to me that. But if I'm Ann Taylor, I focus on that they got him at 2. So and then
Well,
how is anybody knowing when they got into? Everybody was home by 2 and in their rooms by 4.
yes.
Who can say that unless you're the
Yes.
last person to like
Awaken out in the living room or something.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not the case because Bethany or Dylan says that she's sleeping.
Yeah.
I was awoken. I was awoken at 4. What time did you go to your room? Again, her phone's gonna tell her when she's walking and shit.
And it did say both Dylan and Bethany both said they both made statements about them, everybody being home by 2 and in their beds asleep, or at least in their rooms by 4. And I thought that same thing was, how would you know unless you came out of the, like, either were in the rooms and everyone was like, okay, we're going to bed, and then like they walked off to their bedrooms, or you came out to get a DoorDash or go pee and get something or whatever. Like Bethany would have no reason to come upstairs unless she was going to like the kitchen. She has her own bathroom down there. But now Bethany or Dylan, if she had to go to the bathroom, she'd have had to go right beside Xana's room. And that's something else I wonder about is like in the mornings, as soon as I wake up, the first thing I do is I put my glasses on so I don't kill myself on my way out to the bathroom, and I go straight to the bathroom. So does she do that? Because when was the 911 call made? Like if Dylan didn't leave the room at all.
That's what I'm saying. Her phone better not have any steps. Or I think she's, there's no way I'm on the jury. And I'm like, where'd she go? What was
I would
she
be
doing?
looking for an explanation as to
I was doing jumping jacks. I always work out every morning.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, absolutely
But she's
not.
gonna have to like. Well, I walked to the kitchen. I walked to the kitchen, so I didn't go on that side of the house. I walked to the kitchen. I got myself my coffee. I went back to my room.
But what about blood on the floor? What about blood on the floor? The door was one of the doors.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like all of this is gonna have to be accounted for, and it's just, you may be able to prep police officers to be really good about, but I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to prep 2 girls that are 19, 20, 21 years old to be able to handle it like you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
not for nothing, but I think all the statements about, we want to. And something else that kills me is when people were like, oh, they can't give out any information because when they interview the killer, they need to know if it's the killer because they'll know information that nobody else knows because it was never released. But they never interviewed the
They
killer.
never interviewed the killer.
Right. So like at this point, I feel like what is the harm in telling
it's
us
off.
why you think that someone was targeted? Who was the target at this point? Like Brian already knows way more than we do.
For you to say, well, early on in the investigation, we believe that this was an isolated targeted attack. The only thing that leads me to them to be able to say that is that you had 6 people in the house and only 4 people were stabbed versus 6.
No, I really hope that that's not it. I really hope that's not the only thing that indicated to them.
100. I hope that that's not it because that's not good enough.
No.
Especially after you tell me that Dylan saw the killer, but the killer just was like, it's all right. I wasn't here to kill you. Oh, wait, I'm out of time, but also I have to walk by your door 3 times. See, and that's another thing I'm not going to get over. Like, that house is a very different layout. I don't care if you go and get the blueprints. You don't know whose bedroom is whose. You may know that that's a bedroom, that's a bedroom, that's a bathroom, that's a closet. Great, awesome. How do you know? Oh, because they stalked their social media and they were able to narrow down the rooms and who was who, and then they were looking through windows and I was like,
yeah, but where's the proof of that? We don't even see any warrants for his Instagram or his Facebook or anything like that. So
yeah, I just think that you walk past this room how many times and you don't open the door, or was it open?
And if it was locked, if that's the excuse, is like, well, it was locked, so he couldn't get in. Okay, but how did he know that his victim wasn't in there? Like, it was like, if you would have went there, and also, is Dylan would she have been the only one that ever locked the door to go to bed? Like, if I'm thinking about, let's say that's routine, right? Let's say they all lock their doors because they don't want anybody coming in and partying or whatever. So like, why were the other girls' doors not locked? Why was that the only door that was locked? If it was locked, and if it was locked, does she lock it all the time? But I think that maybe for Kaylee, I don't know about anybody else.
Or did you know your killer?
Yeah, but the reason that they might not have been able to use, say, Kaylee's phone was because her family was in the phone, like the day they found out, and they were going through messages and then contacting people. Like, my sister was found dead, and you talked to her, an hour before she was killed. So I need to know what you guys talked about. So her phone also took the longest to come back. And again, I think that could be because you got to figure everything that was done from elsewhere is going to show different date. Like, they need to figure out who was doing what. Right. But I think that the 2 girls calling over and over again.
There's just a lot of like, there's so many moving parts with this. Who in their right mind thinks that they can pull? Who in the right mind thinks that they're going to be able to pull this off with all these moving parts? Then you randomly get a DoorDash in there, like that somebody ordered a DoorDash.
Yeah. And police right there and people walking around. We saw them in the body cam footage. People were still walking. There's a lot going on. The police were at his apartment complex. There was a lot going on to deter someone that you couldn't have planned for.
There's so much that you couldn't plan for. And then how do you know that they're all in their beds at that point? It's like you're coming in right at the moment that everybody's in their rooms then. Talk about some really good luck. But then you leave, like, because if you're going in there with a knife and only a knife, and everybody has cell phones, and well, you need everybody to be isolated in rooms so that you can like do what you're about to do. Because if everybody was in like the living room, like hanging out, playing, listening to music or whatever, I mean, how do you do that? Like, you need everybody to be in their rooms, right? Well, how does that person know that they're going to be in their rooms? Because it literally happened right after everybody was in their rooms, right? That's what they say. Everybody's home by 2. Everybody's in their rooms and by 4. Well, how can you even make that statement when you're supposed to be sleeping at 4? That you were awoke. You woke up because of something at 4 o'clock. And then they're going to say, well, because when Dylan opened up the door, she noticed that nobody was out in the living room. Nobody was out in the kitchen. So that's why they're saying like, oh, everybody must have been in their rooms. I mean, I'm only trying to look at what they're going to say in court on
I'm
how they're
trying to think about
explaining
what
it.
Anne's going to say in court because
I think
felt like
Anne's gonna
one.
wax their asses.
I
That's
do too.
what I think.
I think that's why
They
everybody.
better have something.
Yeah, I think
Everybody
that's
keeps saying
why.
that. Oh, just wait for court. They're gonna have something. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, that's fine. Because I'm gonna tell you this, they need it.
Oh, you know what I was thinking about
They
today?
need it.
Do you know what I was thinking about today? They
Because
did
I
that.
ain't convicting a man on what they have right now.
Yeah, but a lot of people will.
But a lot of
lot of
people will.
people
You
will.
want to know why?
Scary.
Because the mainstream media.
Scary, very scary. As soon as the PCA came out, I did a poll on my Twitter, and I don't think I've done another poll since then because it terrified me. And it was like just reading the PCA, not knowing anything else, not thinking about any Reddit rumors or anything like that. If you only read this PCA and you were on the jury, are you voting him guilty? And something like 83% said yes. And I was like physically ill for days because I was like,
if that doesn't bother people, I don't know what would.
Some people it doesn't. It's I can't even talk about anything really without being told that I'm like trying to get off a murderer.
Yeah,
and
that's insanity.
It's absolutely ridiculous because I'm just thinking like if you enjoy being free, this should matter. Like shit like this should matter to you.
And if he's so guilty, guys, and he's this monster, guys, okay, the evidence is going to be there. I don't. Why all this big production? Why all this big production? If he's so guilty and he's so dumb and so sloppy and yada yada yada, and we had to lie about where Dylan was, but 911 wasn't called for 9 hours. I mean, everything that you look at this case, if you want to say like he's a monster, you just can't have it both ways. Is he smart or is he sloppy? Was this premeditated? Was this an act of rage? Is he a stalker? So he only liked one person.
Or is he methodical?
Yeah. Like you're telling me nobody stalks somebody, one person, and goes and kills 4 people because they wanted one person. No, you isolate if you're a stalker. You don't this doesn't fit a stalker type to he wasn't expecting Kaylee and Maddie to be in the same room. And then, so then he takes out Kaylee or he takes out Matt, vice versa, whoever could have been. And then he comes downstairs and, and here's Dana. She was getting her DoorDash. Oh, I got to kill her.
All these unknown variables.
Because she ran when she saw me with the glove, and so she ran. But how did they ever cross paths? Because he was on the completely opposite side of the house. And if she allegedly went down to the first level to get it and come right back up, he's on the other end going up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And if he had been stalking them all that time, don't you think that he would have known exactly the days that they put up that light bulb camera? And
yeah, I think that there'd be. I think that if he's so guilty, you don't have to be afraid to go and talk to him.
What's the biggest thing that everybody says?
Why not play good cop, bad cop with him? Why not? If you think he's gonna be this. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and we'll see if he talks his way into,
But why are you strategizing? All you know is that he drives a white car. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't even be thinking that far ahead because all you know is that he drives a white Hyundai Elantra. That's all you know.
Unless somebody came to you and told you that this was
right.
Whatever we were doing there that night, there's a bunch of us there. We went to buy this or we did this, and then all hell went. We basically then these people come in and just go crazy, something like that. Then something went way wired. Like next thing I know, people are getting in a fight, and I thought that he just went upstairs to talk to them about something. Next thing I know, he's coming downstairs and he's covered in blood.
Or someone saw. It could have been so they always said, they didn't say that cameras did it. They said through our interviews and tips, we found out that there was a white Hyundai Elantra, right? Everybody always says, we only know 1/10 of what they have, right? That's what keeps being said over and over again. They have so much
If
stuff.
I hear that one more time.
Okay, so listen to this. So they did the discovery. And in the discovery, they delivered them 995 pages of stuff. So that we're talking about warrants, we're talking about reports, supplementals, things like that, right? If you look at these released search warrants, and I'm not talking about the ones that are like just 4 pages that are sealed and you don't know when they went, when they were sealed, what they said, what they were looking for. You're just going off of the ones that are like 10 plus pages that give you actual information, right? All of those added together that would have been information that they had as of January 23rd, which was when they did the discovery, was 775 pages. Okay. That leaves you 220 pages for all of this 9/10 of the information that they have that they're not giving us. So, chain of custody records, subpoenas, other warrants that we don't. Everybody thinks that there's all these other multiple warrants that is just like not unsealed. That's fine. Maybe there is, but you've only got 220 pages of those old warrants, right? The supplementals, the information about when they responded to the scene, the DNA results, all of that stuff, like in 220 pages. I just think that a majority of whatever it is that they're getting or hopefully getting or submitting about him has been done after his arrest. And
Yeah, I think that there's way more. I think that there's way more than the 60 warrants. I think there's way more than that. I don't think those were all of them.
You think that there's more than the ones that they released, but do you
100.
think do you think they were done before his arrest?
And I think there's ones that were done before his arrest. The reason I think that now is because how I read the Pennsylvania to get the search warrant for Brian Kohberger's person, his parents' house, and the car. They didn't use. They used what the affidavits that they were submitting to get those other search warrants. That's what basically Pennsylvania used, except for like
minus the DNA, minus the blood.
Yeah, because they didn't use the DNA. Pennsylvania did not use the DNA, and they were able to get the search warrant to search him, his parents' house, his car, and they got that issued before. So that actually happened first, and then an hour later, Megan signed off because there was an hour difference in actually the search warrant for him and all that stuff. And so they didn't use any.
That's interesting. And you accounted for the time change?
I accounted for the time change, and it's an hour. Yep, I did it in my last live.
So
breakdown, I have it here. It's
I'm thinking because somebody was like, was the arrest warrant in Pennsylvania even legitimate? So like then of course I reached out to lawyers and I'm like, can you explain to me how he was a fugitive if he didn't even know he was like being investigated? And the way it was explained to me was once that arrest warrant went out in Idaho, he was considered a fugitive. He was outside the jurisdiction that he was wanted in. That was enough.
100%. I can prove that that's not true. On December 29th at 4:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Pennsylvania, here it is, the timestamp, and it actually was at 4:35, but by the time it got to the clerk, 4:44
p.m.
p.m. And so, and this was, and what it says here is that on Wednesday, December 28th, 2022, the Pennsylvania State Police was requested to assist the Moscow Police Department, Moscow, Idaho, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So PSP was not even brought on until December 28th.
Right.
So they were not, Pennsylvania is not, those investigators were not the ones that got the trash.
Right.
It was totally feds or somebody else, or Idaho, because if they flew in there.
Well, they said PA agents gathered the trash, so I wonder
100%
why
that's
Pennsylvania
true.
didn't say it at all.
No, Pennsylvania did not get the trash. It says it right here, basically.
I mean, what I'm saying is that Brett's Payne's affidavit says that on December 27th, Pennsylvania agents collected the trash. And Pennsylvania says nothing about the trash whatsoever.
It could be Pennsylvania FBI agents.
Maybe so, yeah.
So that's where I think that they're being, but I'm telling you this right now, it is not
PSP.
It's 100% not PSP because PSP does not get on the case until December 28th.
Right.
And then they say, as part of this investigation, we received reports in plural and affidavits, plural, reports plural affidavits prepared by Moscow Police Department establishing probable cause for issue of search warrants plural related to this investigation. So they were looking at prior search warrants that were issued in this case, and they were looking at the probable cause affidavits that went with them. Okay. And then they say, which are included in this affidavit of probable cause as Exhibit A. And I said, oh my God, well, what Exhibit A is it? Because you got Brett's A, you know what I mean? So I continued to look, and it said that it would be the statement of Brett Payne.
Right.
And so I went all the way through. I get to page 19, where you would expect to see the paragraph where it says
the DNA.
And they admitted that whole paragraph.
Right.
And so where it picks up, though, is on page, it's 19. It says suspected time the homicides occurred, period. And then it should say about the DNA, and it doesn't. It says, based off of the above information, I am seeking a search warrant for Kohberger's person and his parents' residence. And, you know, it goes on about, so it has.
We need to use people's faces and irises.
Yeah,
so let me ask you this: where's the affidavit then for the arrest, or did they just use his arrest warrant?
No, then for the arrest.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what they used, and they got it an hour before his arrest warrant.
So 4:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is what you're looking at. When is the Idaho one?
Now the Idaho one right here is at 2:52 p.m. West Coast, which is 5:52 p.m. an hour later. So they got that issued first, and they didn't need the DNA. They didn't use the DNA. PA said, "Here you go. We're signing this based off Payne's affidavit without the DNA." So why is all this like we got to get the DNA? You guys didn't even use the DNA to get the search warrant of the house, his person, and the car. Okay. So why not just do that?
Well,
why arrest him? Why arrest him, right? So remember what they were trying to just tell you is that, oh, well, we did this because he was a fugitive. He's not a fugitive. He left before anything ever happened.
What they said, and that's what I said, but what they said was he was arrested as like a fugitive, whatever it was where they extradite you. It's like, it's not fugitive from justice. It's called like, it starts with an R, I think. But the way that it was explained to me was once the judge in Idaho signed the arrest warrant, and at that point in time, any police officer in any state outside of the jurisdiction that he's wanted in could pick him up on that warrant charge and
100.
have him extradited. But the problem with that is that what you're saying is that the Pennsylvania arrest warrant,
the Pennsylvania search warrant, just to search, like, so you can get a search warrant and not arrest anybody.
Right. So what about the arrest warrant? When was that? Because if it was before 5,
so check this out.
Or 6, really.
Remember, they don't talk about the DNA. Nothing about the DNA. They had it, and there was the DNA was on the sheet. They excluded it, and there's a reason that they excluded it because it would be the fruit. It would be the fruit of the poisonous tree, which anything that you would have gotten. The arrest warrant. That's what has it in, and it said on December 27th. Because I believe they tried to get it without it, and they couldn't do it. They tried to get this without it, and they couldn't do it. She wasn't going to sign off on it.
I believe that. I mean, I believe that. And I also believe, and someone brought up a good point, because I was getting hung up on the word exculpatory. Remember, I was in here the other night and I was like, why did they use that word instead of just saying it admissible? And someone was like, maybe Washington in particular would only consider like a direct DNA match. And this was not. This was
they were saying that the sheath isn't exculpatory because it's what would make it exculpatory for Brian Kohberger would be as if it's somebody else's DNA on that.
Well, the match that they had it to was somebody else's DNA. That was the problem, is like, unless they had Kohberger's DNA itself to compare to the sheath as a match, they were basically saying, because like, I wonder if you if you do a paternity test, let's just say for shits and giggles, you have, this sample, and then you sample someone else and you do a paternity test on it, and it's their DNA you're comparing it to, would it come back as 100%, or would it come back as 99.9998% the father? Because the reason that it came back the father is because you share the male DNA. So is it, what is the word I'm looking for? Like,
Well,
does it exclude it being?
Well, I think my question is now is that just think about this. Why did Pennsylvania use this one? Okay. An hour later, Payne uses this one. Okay. And then 5 hours later at 9:25 p.m. West Coast time, 12:35,
Yeah.
Dawn Daniels uses Blakers, but the addition that was added in after the 19 pages
Right.
is so right here
Talbot.
where it should say right here. Where's it at? Right. Let me get to the right part. Okay, right here.
And where's Talbot's? Like, I feel like if you were going to use Talbot as a supplemental, why didn't you just have his ass write the affidavit out?
Well, but they weren't. That's not what they were using, though.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't?
Well, they used. So when Dawn Daniels did this, she used Blakers.
Yeah.
So why isn't she using Payne's? This is the only one. So the probable cause, the affidavit that went with Dawn Daniels' search warrant was Blaker. And here, when it goes at the end, because it's like basically they do it together up until page 19, where it says the time the homicides occurred, period. What should be in that paragraph coming after is about the DNA.
Right.
It's not in there. What's said is, listen to this. The King Road residence contained a significant amount of blood from the victims, including spatter and cast off, which, based on my training, makes it likely that the evidence was transferred to Kohberger's person, clothing, or shoes.
Right.
Based on the locations of the suspect vehicle and the 8458 phone immediately following the murders, it is probable that Kohberger went home to his residence, and then they put the address. At that time, it is likely that he still had blood or other trace evidence on his person, clothes, shoes, including skin cells or hair from the victims or the dog. My issue is that says that it is likely that some trace evidence was transferred to areas in his apartment through contact with the items worn during the attack. One likely location for clothes, masks, shoes that he was wearing during the attack would be his residence. While I believe Kohberger is visiting family in Pennsylvania over the current school break at WSU, I believe he intends to return for the start of next semester. So I expect his belongings to still be in his residence, okay? Well, my issue is, it says, to date, we have not recovered the weapon used, okay? But it says that based on my training, the weapon will likely contain trace evidence on it, blunt hairs, whatever. Our likely location for the weapon or any sheath for the weapon would be his residence, all right? Now, my issue with this is wait a second. What are you talking about where his phone would have been immediately after the homicide? His phone, first of all, was not even on during the homicides. Okay, number one. Number two, when his phone did actually come on, he is nowhere near where the homicides were. And he, according to his historical data, doesn't get back to his residence until, a couple hours later from the time of an hour and 50 minutes or whatever, from the time of the crime. So Payne's says that, so basically Blakers probable cause affidavit is saying that he believes that Kohberger went straight home after the crime. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But Payne is saying that he left the area, his phone was pinging, he made this ridiculous loop. You know what I mean? And he's coming up here.
So wait.
Here's this vehicle. We're following this vehicle around. You know, like, he's basically saying, so I want to know why Dawn Daniels uses this one 5 hours later, uses this one instead of like Payne, Payne just gave his to the PA people. Why aren't you taking the same one that you gave the PA people? Why aren't they using that same one for the Washington one? And why is Dawn Daniels the only person that actually makes a little bit of a goof, I think, or maybe she's just covering her own ass because she's like, oh, hell no, I'm not going down for this shit because I've already been in trouble 20 years ago when I was using company card to buy up whatever I wanted on my personal account. So Dawn Daniels says, oh, well, we don't want you to use the sheath that has the DNA on it, openly writes this, you know, but because there could be possible issues with how that was obtained. What person have you ever seen ever in law enforcement ever write that? And then I realized, I was like, well, no wonder why. So she says that she doesn't use Officer Payne's. She does this dude who's basically saying that he went home right afterwards, and based off of where his phone wasn't even on.
Keep that pulled up. That's immediately, because I pulled up Payne's and I want to see, like, in real time, you looking at yours and mine at mine, what it says. But you also have to keep in mind that so regardless of where they think he went to before and after, they don't have in the PCA any pings or camera footage of him in the in-between, like going from Pullman to Moscow. And then when he's leaving, they don't even have him leaving the neighborhood. He says he based on his like knowledge of the area, he thinks that he left through a particular road, but he's not on camera. So I don't know how I don't even see how it's going to be connected that the white car that was seen on every camera in Pullman at 244 and beyond is the same exact vehicle that was seen popping up out of nowhere in Moscow. Like, there must be in between, there's got to be a store along the way somewhere that caught him going to Moscow.
Well, that's what they have. They just have what they're using the PCA is a 253 on 270, and then at 326 on Indian Hill. And then, so they're basically picking up a white Elantra at WSU's campus, like towards the tail end of it on 270 when it's about to turn. And then they're assuming that one right there is then the one that's on Indian Hill at 326. And I'm saying that drive only takes 15 minutes. Right. So why is it 30 some minutes to get to that point?
Right.
And how you're going to tell me
and
that
you didn't get to Indian Hills first. It would have taken you, if he took 270, it would have taken him past like the Buffalo Wild Way. It would have taken him to that.
Well, because he splits off and goes left, I believe. But because I just mapped it backwards on how you could go from the Indian Hill to the. It's not going to take you the amount of time that says that take to get to that point at this point. It takes way less.
Right.
So what was he doing? Was he just turtling it? Was he just pulled off to the side of the road for 10 minutes and it's like, hey, they might be able to put me on this camera, so I'm going to pull off the side of the road for 10 minutes and just chill here?
No,
and that's where the FBI is going to come into play. And if somebody's really good at their job, they're going to say, what camera did you look at first when you made your decision that you looked at this camera at King, right? Yeah. I looked at that camera at King. Okay. At King, you said it was what? Yeah. It was a 2000 and whatever he said. Then they had you look at another, you then looked at another footage in Washington. Mm-hmm. And that's when you said that was what? Oh, a 2014
to 16. Mm-hmm.
So you identified two different vehicles.
100%. Yes.
Perfect. So then they had you relook at. The first time you did this and you told investigators what year you thought that one was and what year you thought that this one was, you identified two different vehicles. Is that correct?
Right.
Yes. No more further questions. Period. And then they're going to redirect and they're going to say, okay, well, but you then went ahead and you looked at this camera again, didn't you? Well, yeah. Well, what made you extend it? You know what I mean? And they're going to have to say something. And then they're going to come back on, they're going to recross. And I would just hone in on.
Did you and how did you confirm that they're both the same vehicle?
Well, then I would have said, yeah, then you're going to talk about the time and distance. So between this point and this point, did you see that car at any point in time? Well, at 3:26 a.m., it was on Indian, let's say Indian Hill. So that's the picture that you're using. Yeah, and we can't determine it from there. But how long is the distance from this point to this point? It only takes 16 minutes to get there, but it took this 33 minutes. So what happened?
All they have to say to 12 reasonable people is exactly how you laid it out the first time. So we showed you the camera around King Road, and this FBI agent who specializes in yada yada has been doing this for 35 years and been with the FBI for 12. They looked at this car and they said that is a 2011 to 2013. We then brought another set of footage from Washington to this expert, and this expert didn't say that's a 2011 to 2016. They said that's a 2014 to 2016, right? And then they're going to say, is it reasonable to think that we're looking at two different vehicles, one a 2011 to 13 and one a 14 to 16? And if not, then why, when you got to figure this, when this expert was looking at this vehicle for the very first time in Moscow, they would have said, okay, immediately that goes down to 2011 to 2016 because the models are similar, yada, yada. I have to look at it a lot closer to be able to narrow it down any further if I can. Then narrow it down further to 2011 to 2013. You don't start really small and then be like, oh, well, now I'm just going to give you a 5-year range of what it could possibly be after I've already pinpointed 3 specific years that it could have been. So I think what's going to not get them, but if I was Anne, I would be focusing on, like I said, at 242, he was using resources at his house. At 244, only 2 minutes later, at least 6 minutes from his house, this white car that they used to identify this 2014 to 16 was seen.
Yeah, how does he get there that quick?
Correct. He was seen traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street, not south.
Not south. Like, yep, he's traveling north, which puts him going back the other way, back towards his house. But with the way I have it, actually, it's going towards like the police station if he was making a loop. But
I don't know where the police station is in.
Oh, you need to see the live I did about WSU's camp, like that police. It's right there on Grimes and North or Nevada way. It meets.
My question also too is, am I really supposed to believe that Brian Kohberger didn't know that all 5 of those cameras? First of all, listen, all 5 of those traffic lights have cameras on every single pole. So when you're going through those lights, it's catching you coming, it's catching you going, it's catching the side. Like there is no well, we could only see the front of the car, but because he didn't have a license plate in the front, then we didn't know it was him. There's a camera on every single pole, all 4 in an intersection. If you didn't have a tag, which I think if you did, you wouldn't have asked the public for help because you would have known exactly what car you were looking for and who owned it. The license plate was unknown, and I don't believe that it's because you didn't have any cameras that would catch the back license plate because, as I said, every one of those cameras at those intersections are on all 4 poles. They catch the front and the back because there are students there that come from places where they don't have a front license plate. It would be silly not to. So was the license plate gone and there was no license plate on the car at all? in both places, which is odd, especially if it were two of them.
Okay, can I tell you something? You ready for this?
Yeah.
If you pull up Blaker's probable cause,
Yeah.
it says on page 11 that on October 14th, 2022, Brian Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop by a WSU police officer.
Mm-hmm.
Upon review of that body cam and report of the stop, Kohberger was the sole occupant and was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate LFZ 8649. Is that anywhere? Is that anywhere in Officer Payne's report?
October
Affidavit?
14th?
Yeah, October 14th, 2022. I'm about to blow everybody up right here.
Yes. I'm looking at it right now. It says October. It's on page 10.
So they say that on October 14th, because I know they have the 21st.
They do.
Like when
it
he
says,
was pulled over.
I'm going to read it to you, and then you compare to yours. On October 14th, 2022, Brian Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop by a WSU police officer. Upon review of that body cam and report of the stop, Kohberger was the sole occupant and was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate LFZ 8649.
Okay, ready for this?
Mm-hmm. What?
You're never going to believe this. So, Bella and myself, we were, going crazy about getting as much body cam footage and doing all this crap.
Yeah.
And guess who got a ticket?
Enon.
No,
I saw that.
No. Guess who
Bethany.
got a ticket? Guess who got a ticket in Washington?
Don't tell me October 14th.
A month before. Yep. A month. Yes. For tailgating too close.
Not Bethany.
Bethany Funk.
Shut up. On
in
the same
Washington.
Day?
We're now. Do you think that it's interesting that he gets pulled over? What was he doing? Like, notice, like they didn't say he's the sole occupant of his vehicle. She got pulled over for tailgating too close behind. Was she following
him?
Isn't that crazy? And then actually,
why was she in Pullman? Why was she? So if we're talking about a connection between, if we're just simply talking about, so we know that Xana's sister lives over there and goes to that school. Why was she over there though, Bethany?
No idea. But remember, everybody wants to talk about Bethany didn't have a car. I want to know.
Yeah, whose car was she driving?
Whose car was she driving? He was. So he's the sole occupant of his vehicle, right? So we were able to get the reason for her getting pulled over. And the reason she got pulled over was because she was tailgating. And I was like, you got to be shitting me. Brian Kohberger got pulled over 2 times in Indiana within 10 minutes of the other,
for the same reason.
For tailgating, okay? And we know what they do in these areas when you're flagging people, okay? So a month before the murders, Brian Kohberger gets pulled over on October 14th, 2022, and Bethany Funk gets pulled over in Washington for tailgating. Same day.
I want to know, how come there's no,
2 different vehicles?
October 14th, the pullover, it has no information. It doesn't say when or for what.
Nope. All I know is that she was late paying the fine. So, because it was due, and then she ended up having to pay it. She paid it December 12th or 13th, but she was supposed to pay it before then. And it was $200 and some. I have all the paperwork.
Didn't he do the same?
We don't.
Did he not pay his either?
We don't. I don't. Him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't pay his seatbelt ticket.
Well, that was the August 21st one.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I don't know his location though. So her location I know, his location I don't know, because that's all they gave us.
Yeah.
So it's so when I saw this, I said, you gotta be shitting me right now. I said, what are the odds? That and what are the odds that they already talk about him getting pulled over for like the August one?
Why
And
bother with this?
why bother talk about the October one? Like you already say everything that you need to say about him being in this white Elantra and that it had Pennsylvania plates. Okay. So why are you mentioning, unless they're going to use that body cam footage to show, like,
Maybe.
or is
Maybe.
it actually significant? Is there more to it? Is there more to it? Meaning, yeah, we're going to put this in here, but there's actually more to it, talking about, it was actually a double pullover because they were tailgating. You know what I mean? We don't know why he was pulled over.
Wait a minute. What if
That's what I'm trying to say, that they were following each other. And normally what you do sometimes, it's I mean, she got pulled over for tailgating too close. I don't know why he got pulled over.
right?
But I'm saying, what are the odds that the guy that is arrested for your roommate's murder, you and him are getting pulled over and getting tickets? Well, again, we don't know if he got a ticket,
Right.
but she did on the same day in Washington on the same day.
Can I throw something out there that maybe, I mean, the odds are very small, but maybe, so some states, like in New Jersey, let's say, even if you get into a car accident and it's just you're automatically getting a reckless driving ticket. Okay. Because they're like, if you're not in control of your vehicle, you're driving recklessly. What if, and it says
It was an
nothing about,
accident.
yes, what if she rear-ended him and they were like, automatically that's a ticket for driving too
But why
close?
would he get a ticket?
It doesn't
Is it
say he
because,
got a ticket.
well, it says
He was detained as part of a traffic stop, but that could have.
yeah, was detained as part of a traffic stop. Don't do that. Like, I can't wait to find, like, I'm telling you right now.
There is no timestamp of when. So now I could understand.
I'm saying Bethany and Brian Kohberger were pulled over on the same day in Washington. They both were pulled over by police officers in Washington. Okay. I know her mile marker. I know where she was. I don't know his because it doesn't say it. Okay. This is all we have. But what are the odds that both of these people get pulled over on the same day in the same town? Okay. And hers is for, I don't know what his is for. Don't even know if he got a ticket. Okay. But I know that she got a ticket and it was for following too closely. It was for tailgating. And then he gets pulled over in Indiana twice for tailgating. I'm just like, and then so we couldn't believe it when we heard Bella's like, you're never going to believe this on why she got this ticket. And I said, oh God, if you tell me drugs, I'll lose it. You know what I mean? She's like, oh God, no, it's way better than that. And I said, she's like, tailgating. I said, what? Tailgating? Who gets tickets for this? Who gets pulled over for this?
I've never driven and been like, I need to stay 4 car lengths away or I'm going to get a ticket for tailgating.
Well, so then I thought about it and I was like, well, this is what they do though. If they have you marked, okay, that's what they do. They pull you over and say something, okay?
Yeah.
They give you, they know what they're going to say. That's what they do all the time. And then guess what you get popped with? You get popped with becoming an informant. By like, okay,
oh no,
you get what I'm saying? Like, oh, what was in this car? What was in this vehicle? So you're just getting pulled over for tailgating too closely, okay? But basically, at the end of the day, though, what are the odds? Again, just throwing it out there that these two people, and then he would be then arrested for the murder of your roommates.
Yeah, and actually, it's almost like it used to be when they first started writing tickets for not wearing a seatbelt. It was basically the excuse to pull you over.
Yeah,
like they would literally,
they
would like stand on the corner in Florida where I was living before, they would stand on the corner and like look in your car as you're like making the turn, and if you looked suspicious, they would pull you over for not wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah.
Otherwise they'd leave you alone entirely. So
Well,
could that
they need a reason to like. It's one of those situations where
be
you
able
need
to
a
look?
reason to pull them over because you're gonna get it's probable cause to then do X, Y, Z. Oh wait, we
Right.
smell marijuana, or we, you
Right.
know. So I was just dumb. I was like blown away. I was like, and then why are they even putting this in there? Like, why would it be in here?
You know what
And
I
it's
feel
like
like doing?
because there's
I feel like
more.
I feel like putting in a request for like all tickets written for.
Yeah, you could get it.
Yeah, I'm thinking like all tickets written for following too closely, and like a maybe from like August to November or so. And I would be super curious if there were
Blaker
many.
wasn't the
I
one
would.
stopping him, by the way. Hold on one second. Blaker wasn't Blaker wasn't stopping him, guys. This is just Blaker's affidavit. And so in the affidavit, just like Payne, when they were doing all of this stuff to gathering information to put into be able to arrest Brian, that they felt the need to put that in there. It's like, why? Why are you putting it in there that on October 14th that you detained him at a traffic stop
You
on
don't
October
need it.
14th? You don't
I
need that
mean,
to arrest him for a murder, like, and you already have it in the August 21st one that he was pulled over. And I'm thinking, like, damn, how many times does this guy get pulled over? Like, you're getting pulled over. Okay, he gets pulled over,
yeah.
August 21st, then October 14th. Oh, wait, you're telling me that Bethany Funk was pulled over, but I thought she didn't have a car, and it was for tailgating too closely. That screams pulling somebody over because you're trying because of something. That's a sick. What are you witnessing? Like, what was Bethany doing?
Oh, you know what? And I'm not saying this happened, but I'm just saying if you're going to use a general reason to pull someone over like that, let's say, for instance, you have an area that you know of that has a lot of high drug activity. That's something that they would do is they'd pull you over
That's
again.
exactly what it is. That's it. If
Yeah.
you thought that people were transporting drugs from, like, let's say everyone's all on this drug kick with King Road. Well, here you go. She's following Brian Kohberger. Okay. She's following Brian Kohberger to take shit to wherever they're going. Okay. Now, I don't know why, so she's following him because she's following him to go wherever. Well,
Right.
she gets pulled over. Because, and then they pull her over because, hey, they come up to your window. Do you know why we pulled you over? No, I wasn't speeding. No, but you were following too closely behind. Do you not know the rules? Huh? Just like Enon, were you on your phone? So then think of what happened then from that point. Oh, what's that smell? I'm gonna need you to get out of the car.
Yeah, definitely.
We're gonna, can we search it? So when you want to talk about how somebody gets caught up in how somebody becomes an informant, or how somebody, hey, you're gonna do this for us, and then we're gonna, you can get off on this. So again, I don't know if that's anything that happened, but isn't it ironic that those two people on the same day in the same town get pulled over?
You know what I'm also wondering? I'm wondering what other things
I have a request, and they said that my cam would be ready in May. So they said that I would be able to get the cam.
Oh, from Bethany's?
Yeah, in May. We have like 4 requests in. So we'll see. Now, again.
But does your paperwork say what kind of car she was driving, though?
No.
What?
No, for the ticket?
Yeah.
We tried to get that in the license plate.
And did they redact it?
Uh-huh.
What?
No, I'll tell you off.
Yeah, that's bizarre. But
I'm leaving those bombs for the preliminary.
Interesting.
We got some bombs coming.
That's
June.
Bizarre. But I'm wondering what else they use. Like, for instance, do they use like underage drinking things? How they stop and they wait for people as like an equivalent? Let's just say they were looking for people to put in that position for whatever reason in particular. These minors in possession or whatever charges that they're handing out to people. I'm just saying there's 2 people that lived in the house that no longer live there anymore. That had those charges that I had no idea about. And it's interesting because someone, I don't know anything about sororities at all, but someone that does was like, I wonder if that would have, if that was something like, I wonder if that would have gotten them in trouble with the sorority, the fact that they had these underage drinking things or whatever. But it seemed.
How are these girls not living in their sorority houses as sophomores?
Oh, you're talking about the survivors? I have no idea.
The 2 survivors are supposed to be living in the sorority house.
I know the freshmen have to live on.
Well, your freshman year, you live on campus in a dorm.
Right.
Then normally your sophomore year, you actually like live in the house and like you're everyone's BITCH,
Right.
but that's just what they say. So not one of them, but literally 2 sophomores who survive and should have actually never been in that house to begin with, if you think about it, because you have to like get approval for that. Like you have to like write. You usually write all those girls live in that's like part of like the whole. That's your experience. Like oh my god, I get to live in the house. I get to live with all the girls. I get to live in the house.
Yeah.
So as sophomores, that's what you do. But here, both of these 2 girls, Dylan and Bethany, sophomores, get out of living in that house that they were, big into with their sororities, and they live at the 1122 King. And why didn't they live in the sorority house?
Why wouldn't they want to do that experience?
Why exactly? And how I could see, okay, one of them, but two people in that house got out of that experience, and they're actually still alive today. And I'm just saying, like, when you want to talk about like coincidences, like, did they live in both places? You know what I'm saying? Like, did they actually?
Not.
Well, shit, who the fuck know? I mean, but maybe this person, it kicked her. That's probably our sign to continue this another day. And that's what we'll do. I believe in signs. Anyways, you guys were great. This was supposed to be an hour and 10-minute live. 2.5 hours later. That's when you know I'm serious. Look out. Again, thank you to all the callers. That was Sleuthy Goosey. She's got a Twitter. She loves timelines like I do, and I respect her work. She puts a lot of research into her work. So again, check her out on Twitter. I actually have a Twitter now. I've had one, but like I started one up for this channel, and so I could tag Ashley Banfield and banter with my girl AB. So you guys are great. Thanks to all the new people that popped in. If you haven't been over here, check it out. I have an Idaho playlist up. I got to move over some more lives and videos that I've done over the past week, so I will do that. But there's a complete playlist. Do me a favor. If you enjoyed the show and you stuck around, hit the thumbs up, help the algorithm. But is it TNT Twitter? Yeah, it's TNT Twitter. So I think if you go to like, God, what is it? I don't know. It's Lana. I don't know. Somebody throw it in there. I'll post it in my community page. And Gina's counting my F-bomb. So again, I kept you guys up on a Sunday till about 1:15 in the morning. The West Coast people are probably fine with it. All my East Coast folks hate me right now. And then everybody in the UK, man, they're probably just waking up in the morning like, hey. So it's not the fight for a family one. Let me take a look. Here, I'll just share my screen so you guys can see it. Share screen. This is what it looks like. There you go. tweet right now. I don't even know if I did that right. There you go. Sure, got it. But it's Atlanta TNT YouTube. Okay? Yeah, there you go. I gotta go have a smoke after this episode. Yeah, I gotta go pee. West Coast here, still early. Yeah, you're lucky. Oh, thank you. Don't forget to hit that. But yeah, it's all right there. Figured if Ashley Banfield could use her full name, I'll use mine. Get it right. AB, go ahead, check out that ticket. Click it or ticket, girl. I expect a full report. AB, you heard it here first. Get those tickets. Bethany Funk in Washington, tailgating too close behind, ticket. Had to pay over $200 and some dollars. Dipping in and out to say hi. Oh my gosh, girl. Thank you. Love it. You're the best. And then again, Brian got pulled over on October 14th. Were they following each other? I don't know. Annie could be, girl, could be. Again, thank you for that. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for becoming members. And I'm gonna go drink some tea and call it a night. How do I get my hair so high? I don't know. I don't know, bro. I don't know, Cheryl. Just my jeans. Please post your email too, because a lot of people asked that. Oh, they did. Sorry. Here you go. You can email Lana at fightforafamily.com. There you go. And then hopefully that helps out. Again, thank you guys all for being here. And then a special shout out again. Thank you for Drip Job and making my Sunday completely detour to what it was. So best show ever. Thank you. Thank you, Truth Seeker. All right, guys, take care until next time, okay? My night will be fabulous. Thanks, Gina. Appreciate that. Best chat and episode yet. Best chat ever. I'm going to go for a run. I know Drip Drop is great. Again, thank you guys. Good night. Use your touch DNA on that thumb. Throw your twos up. Comment on the video too. If you guys have questions, I try to get into the comment section to answer those. So do that. And then, hey guys, come on. I got a Twitter now. I mean, it's going to be funny. The stuff I post. And serious. Deuces.